It's a World Cup summer. I'm so excited for it to begin that I'm starting a pretty cool challenge. We're going to try and take a random quarterfinalist from every single decade, from the 1960s to the 2020s, and we're going to try and win their World Cup. If we lose, we're going to start again with a different team, and we'll go until we win a World Cup in every decade. We're starting in 1966. We all know who won this one, right? It was England's only win, and it was on home soil. What better place for me to start? And I don't know where we're going to be starting. We need to load up the wheel with the 8 teams that reach the quarterfinals, and that gives us the choices of England, Argentina, Portugal, North Korea, West Germany, Uruguay, the Soviet Union, and Hungary. That is a crazy mix of teams, but let's go. As the wheel spins, you can see there's some teams that are gonna be much better than others, but we actually got lucky and got one of the better teams, Portugal. The team has some of the best players of all time in it. Eusebio, the Black Panther, Jose Torres, the Gentle Giant, and Mario Coluna, who was known as the Monster. These ratings are fair enough. These were some of the best players of their generation, so they deserve to be rated about 90. But we're not the only team with a squad this good. In our group, we have the 1954 runners-up Hungary. We also have communist Bulgaria, and of course 99 rated Pele's Brazil. And we're going to start off by playing against Hungary. While they don't have Puskas and Coxis anymore, they do have Albert and Bene, who are both rated over 90 overall. Ratings are all well and good though. Sometimes players just feel differently on the pitch when you're not looking at them on the tactics page. So it was pretty important that we learned how Portugal like to play early on. They're good at getting the ball down the wings into their tall striker. Eusebio can run in behind, and you can also make some decent chances with the midfielders. However, sometimes they just fall to the wrong person, like our right back Jose Augusto, who was 1-on-1 and really should have given us the lead just before half time. But I guess you can't expect every chance to fall to this man here, Eusebio. We did want a couple of them to fall to him in the second half though. He's really done nothing so far. But again, Gracia with another long shot, and this time we find the back of the net. That was an absolute screamer. He put his full body weight behind that one, fired into the net from outside the box, and we're ahead in the 1966 first match of the groups. Would it last for long? No, it would not. It wasn't Bene or Albert up front, it was Istvan Naj, who was playing in centre mid, who would equalise with another pretty decent goal. But we still had 20 minutes to try and find one, and Eusebio would miss basically an open goal. You've got to do better when you're 96 rated. We decided to start pumping balls at Torres, the target man, but he just could not score a header. Would he have the pace to break away in the last minute? No, he would not. And that would be it. A 1-1 draw on the opening day. We do want more from this man going forwards though. Eusebio with a very, very average performance on game week 1. If you compare our squad to Hungary's, it is pretty disappointing. We only got that 1 point, but we have a chance to rectify this in the next game. We're playing against Bulgaria. They don't have anyone rated over 90. They've only got a single guy rated over 85, and our team is just so much better than them. We know how to use our squad a little bit better now, and we need to get a win to get the crucial 2 points that means we don't have to beat Brazil to go through. There's no point worrying about Brazil though, because we've got Bulgaria in front of us right now. The 2 people we really want to perform are target man Torres and also Eusebio. We were expecting so much from Eusebio, and as we see, Pele's already scored 4 goals in his first 2 games of this tournament. If we want to get Eusebio that golden boot, he is going to really need to kick on in this match. You could already see our patterns of play were much stronger already. Torres having a long shot, and oh my god, he's found the top corner. Within 11 minutes, out of absolutely nowhere, someone who does not have a reputation for scoring goals like that has put us ahead. This is the perfect platform to go on and thrash Bulgaria. And we really tried. We were attacking every single time we could. Eusebio would finally get a chance to use his pace. He cut inside, and he would miss the kick altogether. That was a sign of how Eusebio was playing. Colina would get a rebound to Eusebio, and another open goal missed by our star player. Bulgaria would try and attack before half time. They would get a corner, and all we had to do was defend. We would miss the header, the goalkeeper would dive underneath the ball, and we were going in level. I don't think Bulgaria deserved this. They did not deserve an equaliser. We destroyed them in the first half of this game. But that was fine. We still had 45 minutes to try and rectify things. Torres nearly did, but it was a great save by the Bulgarian keeper. But then they started getting more into the game as it went on. They could easily have gone ahead there in the 71st minute, and no matter what we tried, we couldn't do anything. We had one last chance. We got the ball into Coluna. We could have probably passed it to Eusebio, but we went for the shot and it was the wrong decision. So our first attempt is all coming down to the last group stage game. We did not want it to do this. We're going to have to go and beat Brazil, a team that is absolutely stacked with 90 plus rated players and better. Their captain is a prime Pele, but there's also Garrincha, there's Jairzinho, Bellini and Gilmar, who all could be considered the best in the world at their positions. But can we finally get Eusebio to be the player he looks like he could be for us? Or are we going to be still relying on Jose Torres to continue scoring screamers? You could already tell just how good Pele was going to be in this tournament. He just turned us, we could not get near him, we needed 2 or 3 players to defend him every time he attacked. But also, we were starting to show signs that maybe we could score some goals too. Eusebio hitting the post, and he still hasn't actually had a shot on target for us in the first 3 matches. Thankfully though, Brazil's talisman also had a case of the Eusebios. Not only would he miss this chance, but the one before it was also something that Pele would have normally scored with his eyes closed. 0-0 at half time potentially could be good enough, but if we can just somehow get a goal, we are going to be through into the knockouts. Jairzinho would end basically all our hopes of that happening. This was going to be a real uphill battle if we were going to score 2 in the second half, and Eusebio still just could not do anything. We only had 15 minutes left, and our target man was putting dangerous crosses in, but if he was on the end of that, he probably would have scored. At the other end, Brazil punished us. That was a beautiful header, sort of a reverse behind him into the top corner kind of thing. Tostão isn't a player I'm super familiar with, but if he could score headers like that, he deserved to play up front alongside Pele. And that was it basically. Tostão would keep attacking, we would just decide to try and start injuring players, and the referee would put us out of our misery. With 2 draws and a loss, of course, we are now out of the World Cup. We're playing in the times where you got 2 points for a win, and sadly only getting 2 points was not enough. That's not the end of the video though, not by a long shot, because we're going to re-roll the wheel until we can get further into this tournament and eventually win it. We've removed Portugal from the options, so let's spin again. We don't want the Soviet Union, we don't want North Korea, those are both going to be even worse than Portugal. Argentina are also going to be worse than Portugal. We really want England or West Germany. The wheel is slowing down, and it looks like we've got one of them. West Germany, the finalists in 1966 in real life, are going to be our next attempt at winning this tournament. We have an even better team than we had with Portugal. Rather than a star striker like Eusebio, we actually have Franz Beckenbauer. We're going to give him a totally free role, let him get forwards, but also let him help us defend. But he's not our only superstar. We also have Uwe Seeler, who is a former Hamburg striker who scored nearly 1 goal a game for his club. We have Wolfgang Overath, a true legend in Cologne. We have Sepp Maier, a legend and one-club man goalkeeper with over 700 appearances for Bayern when he retired. Almost every single position in our team has a superstar, and I think the only teams that could stop us are Brazil, England and Italy. This time we start off with an all-German speaking first match against Switzerland, a team that is nowhere near as good as the might of West Germany. Our group is a lot easier than it was when we were Portugal manager, so we do have pretty good hope we can get some momentum up, and straight from the outset, we were on top. We were doing 1-2 moves with Beckenbauer, we decided just to hit one. We scored some pretty good goals with Portugal, but I think that one was my favourite we've scored so far in 1966. The move was just phenomenal. The run from Beckenbauer was exquisite, and we were just pushing for more goals. Our winger found our fullback, and that is pass of the century. Held just had to tap it past the on-rushing goalkeeper, but the ball to split the defence and the finish itself were both absolutely phenomenal. We're not a one-man team like we were before. We're not just relying on a single person. We've got people like Beckenbauer getting into the box. He misses the header, but he's staying down. That's not a good sign. Hopefully the referee, stops the game, and it's an injury. He's got the ambulance icon, and we're going to have to swap things around. We're lucky we're not playing a few years earlier where there would have been no substitutes at all, but Beckenbauer is probably going to miss at least a couple of games, potentially the entire tournament, and that is really going to hurt us. We still had 30 minutes left to play, and Grabowski, the substitute, would come on and play really well on the left. The penalty wasn't my finest work, I'll be honest, but the referee confirmed it. We'd won our first game of the tournament 2-0, and it's a great start. It was a comfortable win, but an uncomfortable injury for West Germany. Beckenbauer is confirmed to be out for 4 weeks, and realistically, that is this entire tournament. We're going to have to try and do it without our star man and our captain. If we can win this second match of the group stage though, we're basically through into the knockouts and we can afford to rest some of our better players in the third game. We're going to put some pressure on Max Lawrence's shoulders. The Werder Bremen midfielder is going to replace De Kaiser in midfield. Argentina's team is fairly strong. They have Mas, our teammate, and Onega at front. They're great. They're another 5-star team, but I think we're even better. Let's get this win and get into the knockout rounds. We're now being captained by this man, Uwe Seeler, and he is my favourite player in the team. His positioning is next level, and it was a bit of a shock that he didn't actually get on the rebound after we hit the post in the first 10 minutes. Being able to not worry about that last group stage match was a huge incentive to go for goals, and for the first half, we were absolutely pushing forwards with everything. It just felt though like we needed to make a change. So as half-time came, we were 0-0 and decided to make that change. Lawrence had a decent match, but Grabowski was just so good off the bench in the last game. We needed someone to give us some kind of impact in the second half, and if anyone was going to do it, maybe it was going to be this guy. Or maybe it was going to be Schnellinger, giving Argentina basically a free goal. That is a disastrous start to the second half, and now a comeback really was needed. But we were still missing Beckenbauer's passing. Every pass we did seemed to be overhit. We needed someone to do something special. Grabowski is a bit unconventional, and he did manage to get the ball into Seeler. Seeler would turn, deflection, goal. That's what we needed. A little bit of luck. A bounce off the defender's chest, beyond the goalkeeper, and it looked like the captain was leading by example. Seeler would also intercept for our next chance, into Grabowski. A good cut inside, into Held, a finish that is deserving of any game. That has probably won us this tie. Argentina really didn't do too much. We gave them a goal, we defended them every other time they attacked, and we got the 3 points. Or I guess actually 2 points? It's a bit confusing being in 1966. If we can win our group, we are guaranteed a weaker opponent in the next round, or at least someone that's going to finish second in their group. We're not even going to play the third game against Spain. We're happy to simulate this because we're already through, and thankfully we get the third win. With 6 points from our 3 matches, we were guaranteed to play second place in Group A. With the final match of that group still to play, it could have been France, England, or even Mexico if France could beat England by 4 or more goals. France did manage to win, but it was narrow, so it was time. England against Germany, but not in the final like you probably expected. This was the quarter-final of the tournament. The Charlton brothers, Bobby Moore, Gordon Banks, Nobby Stiles and Martin Peters, this England team is stacked with legends. There are players who would go on to become legends in almost every position, but they're only legends because they managed to win their home World Cup. It is our job to stop them in the quarter-final, and in the rain showers, we were looking for a good start and a good performance. I'm a bit sad that we couldn't get the stadiums working for this video. I'll get them fixed for next time, but this would have been at Wembley Stadium. Still, we were attacking from minute 1, and oh my god, Seeler has tackled Gordon Banks. The celebration may be a little bit anachronistic, it didn't belong in 1966, but we really can't complain about scoring within the first 5 minutes. We went defensive almost straight away, and England nearly equalised straight away, but they just couldn't do it. Even on defence, we had our chances. What a save that is from Gordon Banks, more than making up for the error that he made early on. A few minutes later, Overath would overlap. He did a Trivela shot, it rebounded to Seeler, and that is a tap-in that even Eusebio wouldn't have missed. 2-0 up. Can we hold on and get our spot in the semi-final, knocking out the hosts? We cranked up the intensity, playing some pretty appalling tackles at times, and at half-time, we had gone in with just 30% possession, but 2-0 lead, and that's really all that matters. The second half, we increased the intensity even more. We got lucky with a couple of saves, but it's safe to say that Maya was on top of his game. He was coming out to punch absolutely everything. While he isn't the tallest goalkeeper to catch the ball, these punches were so important for us. Martin Peters would have one of their last chances. Even in the last minute, we were going in hard on England players. The referee confirmed it. We didn't need to wait to the final to knock England out this time. They were out in the quarterfinals and we were through to the semis. So we had beaten the hosts and now we were into the semi-finals. There were 3 teams that I did not want to play in this tournament. One was England, one was Italy, and the other one was Brazil. The semi-finals were Germany against Italy, and the potential final was either Brazil or France. Our pre-match scouting showed Italy were going to play a strange, unbalanced formation. That could either rip us apart, or it could be a total disaster if we defend well. One thing is for certain though, it was going to be a very, very close match. I was kind of hoping we could have Beckenbauer at least with the plaster rather than the ambulance for this game, but despite that, I'm still fairly confident that we have a team that can challenge Italy. Their unconventional formation sees them find a lot of space in pockets, especially around our fullbacks, and Schultz was really struggling early on. The free kick would come in, we would defend it, kind of. Moroni, their star striker, would wrestle the ball back and put Italy ahead. You might have noticed that Italy weren't even on our wheel, and that's because they didn't get into the quarterfinals in real life. This god team that they have here doesn't seem like it actually played that well in real life, but we just could not stop them. They were attacking, they were forcing saves, and for about 5 minutes just before the half, we just could not get the ball. Rizzo would cut inside, he would get a cross in, bicycle kick saved onto the crossbar, the second time the crossbar has been struck in the past 5 minutes. They would recycle the ball, and again, Rivera really could have found the net. The second half had to be different, because if it wasn't different, we were starting all over again. The Italians weren't just dominant on attack though, their defence was also fully smothering everything we did. Grabowski, the super sub, was starting in this one, and even he couldn't produce a chance. Just like the Italians though, we had our own little spell of dominance, and just past the hour mark, we were starting to finally produce chances. And then we got a moment of luck. Held would intercept the ball, he would cut inside, it would rebound to Overath, into Emmerich, he would beat his man, blocked, but then the shot of dreams. Falling backwards, totally off balance on his weaker foot, he finds the side netting and equalises for West Germany. That was it. Full time was about to be blown. We just had to defend, and we did. We were into extra time, we knew this game was going to be close, and we knew we probably had an advantage when it comes to penalties. So Italy really didn't want it to get that far. The West German midfield and defence were defending like their lives depended on it, and we were so close to getting a last minute chance, but it never came. That meant one thing, a penalty shootout. We are West German, we surely have that gene that lets you win penalty shootouts. Well, we actually missed our first penalty, but thankfully so did Italy. And that meant Uwe Seeler could put us ahead. He did, and now all we had to do is not look back. Italy would take their second penalty, and after 2 each, it was 1-1. Next up was Grabowski, the super sub. He's never let us down, and doesn't let us down yet again. Could we just save 2 more of these penalties? The next Italian stepped up and missed the target altogether. That gave us an advantage. If Overath can score, we're in a really good position. He does. Beautiful penalty. All we have to do is save one or score one, and we are in to the World Cup final. It's another good Italian penalty, putting all of the pressure on Helmut Haller, the guy that plays in Italy for Bologna. Let's hope he hasn't got mixed loyalties. He steps up. He bags. The goalie goes the right way, but we do not care. That is the World Cup final with West Germany. A little bit of German luck was required, but we are through into the final, where of course France have lost to Brazil and we're playing Pelé yet again. This didn't go very well for us when we were Portugal, but we did have some outstanding news. The Kaiser is back. Beckenbauer is fit enough to play in the final. After getting injured in the first match of this tournament, we have him back when it matters. His job is going to be a lot more defensive than it was in that first game. We need to stop Pelé, Jairzinho and Garrincha. We would take a jammy 1-0 win. We would take penalties again if we were offered it right now. World Cup finals are rare, but I think we've picked a team that can win this one. But by no means are we the favourites to go on to lift the trophy. It's undeniable the Brazilians have more skill than us, but we've got a lot of very big, angry guys, and also Franz Beckenbauer, so we're not too fussed if we do pick up a few yellow cards. This did seem to get in the Brazilian players' heads because they were playing a lot more withdrawn, knowing that occasionally a big hit was going to come in on them. But when we did have the ball, we finally had the players to impact it. Look at this run from Franz Beckenbauer. Over the top, potentially offside, but what a header that is! The defensive midfielder running straight down the middle, the most basic run you can imagine, and I think scoring off his nose. We knew we had missed him, but we didn't know he was capable of doing things like that. That is a class World Cup final goal. All we have to do now, hold on and get this 1-0 win. But would Pele have something to say about it? Of course he would. The two best players on the pitch trading blows in the World Cup final. Could you ask for anything else? But we had to get that extra goal to try and go through. I think the Brazilians were starting to get ground down by our constant fouling, but sometimes there was a bit of benefit from our needless aggression. Weber would dive in on Pele, and what a tackle that was. Hotges would give it to Overath. He would see Uwe Seeler's run in behind, one touch on the volley, and he's done it. He's put us ahead in the World Cup final with half an hour to go. I told you he was my favourite player, and he has just proved that he is worth that title. Uwe Seeler doing what Eusebio could not do. But there was still so much danger to withstand. Brazil attacking with 5, 6, 7 players at a time. We were still trying to just injure them, not gonna lie about that. And they were still making chances, but they just couldn't finish them off. They were pushing down the right. Just 10 minutes to go, Schultz defending well. In the last minute, we were the ones attacking. Grabowski, could he get the last minute winner? They think it's all over. Well, when this ball goes out of play, it is. And Germany have done it. They are the world champions, the Weltmeister. Franz Beckenbauer inspiring an absolute unbelievable tournament run. I was really thinking we were going to have to keep spinning until we got Brazil or England, but somehow with our second spin we got the second best team in the world. We ground out the wins, we did what it took to get to that final, and when we got there we put in one of the best performances we had the entire time we were playing the 1966 World Cup. West Germany, you are world champions, and we could not have done it without Franz Beckenbauer. The header in the first half was absolute magic. The pass through from Wolfgang Overath to Uwe Seeler was just as beautiful. And that's what it takes to win a World Cup. Your best players playing at their best. We started in 1966, but today we're in the 1970s. 1978 to be precise. Do you know who won this World Cup? It was Argentina who hosted it and also won. There is a chance that we get to play as Argentina, but there's just as much chance that we're going to play as one of the other 7 teams that also reached the second group stage. Netherlands, Italy, West Germany, Austria, Argentina, Brazil, Poland and Peru are all on our wheel, so let's spin it and see who our first team is. So it's going to be Poland. I don't know anything about this Poland team, so it's going to be a learning curve for me, and I assume it's probably going to be similar for you. The squad is absolutely unreal though. You've probably heard of the term one-man team, but this is a 3-man team. We have Grzegorz Lato on the right, we have Zbigniew Boniek on the left, and we have Kazimierz Dana on the right side of midfield, and all 3 of these are elite world-class players. Dana was voted as the greatest Polish footballer of the 20th century. Boniek is in the Italian Hall of Fame, and Grzegorz Lato was the top scorer at the 1974 World Cup. We do actually have a pretty good set of supporting characters too. Our defenders are huge, especially for the 1970s. We might not have any players who you'd consider to be worldwide legends, but we have plenty of iconic players, and together, who knows, maybe we can force our way deep into this tournament. We have to start off with a game against West Germany, a team we know all too well from our 1966 video. Thankfully they don't have Beckenbauer anymore, instead they have Gerd Müller, but he's not even their best player. They have Rummenigge, they have Bertie Vogts and Sepp Maier, and all 3 of them are better than Gerd. We might be the underdogs, but we have to remember, we also have 3 world-class players, and the rest of our team isn't actually that much worse than West Germany. There is some recent World Cup history between these 2 teams too. In 1974, West Germany defeated Poland 1-0 in the second round of the World Cup. Is it time for Poland to finally get their revenge? Well, I'm excited to see what this team can do, but I'm also excited to see what the West Germany team can do as well. There is an okay chance that if we do lose as Poland, we could end up with West Germany yet again, and their team is absolutely outstanding. But for now, the focus needs to go back onto Poland, and from what I've seen in the first 5 or 6 minutes, we're actually not too bad of a squad. We might not have the flair of the 1960s Brazil team or the determination of the West Germany team we used in '66, but this Polish team does seem to have quite a lot of physicality. Of course though, we do also have quite a lot of talent on the ball. Boniek and Dana are two of the best playmakers at this tournament, but we could really do with Kasperzak not getting sent off because he is the key to unlocking both. One of our other keys is of course this man, Lato. He has so much pace and he actually got to the ball before the goalkeeper. We tried to cut inside and try and curl one, but the shot was nowhere near the top corner. And that was just about half time. We'd had a decent amount of shots in the first half, a lot more than I was expecting against such a good team, but there was no breakthrough, so we were going in level at half time. I think the tactic that we're using does seem to work pretty well, but we could get the ball to Dana and Boniek a bit higher, and that might see us get some chances. So Kasperzak would play one of those passes, and Dana was just millimeters away from getting a goal in off the crossbar. That gave us a bit more hope that maybe we could compete with West Germany, and for the rest of the second half we were trying to play killer ball after killer ball into our wingers. I think that kind of contributed to the resurgence of West Germany though. We took too long on the ball, and out of nowhere Rummenigge was through on goal. Our defenders might be 6'4", but they don't have much pace, and it was all down to Tomaszewski, the man that kept us in this match. As the clock was ticking away, we potentially could do one more attack, but then it went to West Germany. We stopped it, and that would be that. I was actually fairly impressed with how similar we were to West Germany, and the stats would back me up. We will take a draw every day of the week against one of the favourites for the tournament, but I think if we're going to go through, we're going to have to beat Tunisia in our second match. We are so much better than them in every single position. They don't have anyone close to as good as our golden trio. Let's just secure that easy win and get through to that second group stage. After that start we had just done against West Germany, there was no reason that we couldn't go on to beat Tunisia in this match. They have no one that I've ever heard of, and I doubt unless you're Tunisian, you've heard of any of them either. But does that put a little bit more pressure on us? Do we have to make sure we can break down a deep defence? And it did seem like that was what we needed to do. We decided to start pushing forwards with our fullbacks, leaving just 2 men at the back, getting Boniek and also Dana into the box to try and finish off chances. We spent the entire first half trying our best just to win the ball as high as we can and get crosses into our massive striker, and it was turning out to be one of those classic World Cup underdog performances from Tunisia. We had to hope for a better performance in the second half, and with 25 minutes of it gone, we were still absolutely awful. As we decided to go for it, an all-out attack, Tunisia also decided to turn the screw. Their defensive midfielder played it through to their playmaker, into their left winger who bounced off us, got a few lucky bounces, and then did an absolute elite level shot. In off the crossbar, so similar to what Dana couldn't do against West Germany, and we were behind. We had to press for a goal and see what this Polish team was made of. We got our fullbacks even higher. The crosses kept coming in, but Tunisia just kept getting heads and feet on things, and it looked like we were starting to run out of time. What we needed was a moment of magic. Dana into Lato, into the back of the net. It feels hard to actually celebrate that goal because we only are drawing. We still have a few minutes to try and go for the win, but a draw here really is not what we wanted. We did keep pushing, and we couldn't do it. We had to settle for a 1-1 against Tunisia, putting all of the pressure on this final game. Jesus Christ, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Narrowly avoiding that loss means we're going to have to win our final game of the group stage to progress. If we can't win it, we're back to the spinner and we get another team. I really like this Poland team. I think they have potential once we get to know them. But we need to realise that potential in this game against an even worse Mexico team. If we lose, or probably even draw, we are going to be starting all over again. It could be even worse though, because West Germany are already out of this tournament. It could be Mexico and Tunisia going through, which no one would have predicted before we kicked a ball. But to stop that happening, we're going to have to turn on the style. Maybe get a little bit of luck. You know, a little bit like that. What a finish that is from Boniek. The goalkeeper is nowhere near saving that. It is probably the goal of the tournament, and it's definitely better than anything we scored in 66. But now we just have to defend, and sometimes we do cross the line. We got a red card, and that put us in an awful situation. Mexico would punish us immediately. 1-1 and down to 10 men in 15 minutes was absolutely not the start we wanted when that Boniek chance went in. Thankfully though, it was just our right back, and we don't really rely on our right back for our attacks. That means that we can still keep playing down the left, and it was Kasper Jack, our defensive midfielder, who would put us back ahead about 8 minutes before half time. A really nice finish from an unexpected source, something that can be so important given the situation we're in. Mexico would come out firing in the second half. They would get in behind with Isadora and be level again 6 minutes after half time. That was all down to a Boniek error, trying to use a bit of flair to beat a man in midfield, but within 3 passes, we had just conceded. That meant for the next 20 minutes, we were just playing attack versus defense. Mexico knew a draw meant they came top of their group. We needed a win. We needed another little bit of luck. Thankfully, it seemed like it was our lucky day. Ayala taken down Sharmak with 10 minutes to go. If we score this, there's a real decent chance that we can hold on and get into that second group stage. Dana with his first goal of the tournament, and what a time to get it. We defend for the next 10 minutes, and then we decide to put a bit of salt and maybe some lime in the Mexican wound. Kasper Jack wins the ball, runs through, bags, 4-2, and we are definitely through into the second group stage. It's something that felt so unlikely as we went behind against Tunisia, as we got equalised to make it 2-2 in this game, but we've done it. Well, whatever you say about this team, you can't say that they give up. That's 2 games in a row that late goals have seen us get results when we really weren't expecting to get one. Normally, this is the part of the video where I'd say we're now in knockout football, but because of how the 1978 World Cup works, we're actually in another group stage. This group stage works differently to the last one. There are still 4 teams in the group, but the last 2 teams are going to be knocked out in both groups. If you finish second in either of the groups, you play in the third place playoff match, and if you win your group, you go through to the final. 2 teams will make it there. We just have to make sure that we're the one from this group. Our group is interesting to say the least. Of course, we have a pretty good team, but so do Argentina. They're the hosts as well, so there's probably going to be some kind of advantage for them. We also have Sweden and Scotland, who are probably the only 2 teams in this competition that can be more physical than us. Scotland in particular have a couple of really good players. John Robertson, Kenny Dalglish and Graham Souness are all world-class footballers. We're going to start off with the hardest game of the group though, against the hosts Argentina. If we want to win this group, we cannot lose this match. A draw is okay, and a win would be absolutely brilliant. A loss would be a disaster. We go with the same team as usual. Boniek, Kasper Jack and Dana are all playing well as a 3. Lato on the right and our giant defence at the back could see us actually go on to win this match. I've got to say though, nothing is certain in the 1970s, and Argentina was so much better than any other team we had played so far. They were free-flowing up front, they were really rigid at the back, and in the first half an hour it felt like we hadn't really touched the ball. They would be able to build it up like a modern football team if we didn't have such a solid defensive unit ourselves, and especially such a good goalkeeper. I think there was a serious chance that we would have been behind going into half-time. But we weren't. It was 0-0, we hadn't had a shot and only 38% of the possession, but we knew that we did have another half to try and turn things around. And it felt like we were a totally different team in the second half. We were pressing a lot higher for some reason. We were finally getting shots away, even if it did take us 56 minutes. And then it felt like the dam had opened. Yeah, we hit the post, but we had so many more shots that would just be blocked just before they were going on target. We were getting corners and we were winning almost all of them thanks to that height advantage. We even nearly scored an outstanding free kick around the wall. But sadly, we just could not get that breakthrough. When we did get a pretty decent amount of space to hit a long shot, it fell to our centre-back and went over the bar. We kept pushing, we had to, and Lato would beat Passarella. Could he get a good ball in? He could, but Argentina would defend it. Nothing would come from the corner, and Argentina would have one last attack of their own. Would they score? Our goalkeeper was there, and we managed to clear it a couple of times. And that would be the end of the match. A 0-0, and it's not the worst result, honestly. If we can play as well as we did in that second half against Argentina, there's no reason we can't get 2 wins against Scotland and Sweden. Both of those teams are in their own golden eras alongside Poland, but they don't have what we have, that never say die spirit. While we have that spirit, we don't have Kasper Jack for this game. He has been suspended, so we're going to have to give someone a debut. Out of all of our midfielders, I think Navalka probably gives us the best defensive platform to let our playmakers be free, so he's coming in for this crucial game that really we do have to win. It feels like this is probably the 5th out of 5 matches where I've said we have to win it, but it really does feel like we do. If we don't win this one, the best we can do is the 3rd place playoff. What we needed was a good start, and we could easily have had a handball penalty, but the referee didn't see it that way. You really could feel the difference between the Swedish side and the Argentinian one. There was so much more space for our playmakers to get on the ball. But the Swedish team was all about counter-attacks, and Nilsson would outpower both of our centre-backs, get through one-on-one, and that was actually an outstanding save off the shoulder of our goalkeeper. I've got to say, it's been a very interesting first 15 minutes. We got into the box one more time, and Sharmak would get tripped. It's no penalty. In fact, it looks like it's going to be a dodgy knee for Sharmak. He's got to come off, and we don't have too many options. We bring on Mats Stahler, who's a centre midfielder. We're going to have to put Boniek up front, who's a very different kind of player. It felt like that change actually kind of stopped any progress that we'd made with our attacks over the past couple of games. So I think it was time to switch things up. While we're not going to go to the 1-1-6 formation or whatever that was, the 4-2-3-1 does seem like probably the best idea for us. Boniek is going to be playing more like a second striker, something that did work a lot when he was in Italy. The changes did seem to give us a bit more possession, but we were so much less ruthless. Boniek into Lubanski, into Lato, and we probably could have passed it again. We just weren't taking the shot when there were clear open chances. Could we get something from a set piece? Even then, we weren't a threat anymore. I had no idea how much of a difference Sharmak was making. We would have taken shots, pot shots from basically anywhere. We couldn't turn. It felt like there was no space, and every pass we were doing was just overhit. The good news was, Sweden were doing nothing themselves, so we just flooded everyone forwards. A nice back heel made some more space. Boniek into Lubanski. Oh my god, that's gone straight in the top corner. That has probably saved the tournament from Lubanski. He's been playing out on the left, but we moved him into the middle, and it has paid off so big time. This team just does not know how to quit. Another late goal, and that changes absolutely everything. We go into the final game, level on points with Argentina. We've got one worse goal difference, which is the tiebreaker, so we just have to beat Scotland by more goals than Argentina can beat Sweden by, and then we're in the final. We could be playing against Brazil, the Netherlands, or Italy, 3 of the most dangerous teams, and you can see how lucky we've been getting drawn in this side of the group. Sadly, Ondrej Sharma is out of this game, so we're going to move Lubanski inside and play Ivan on the left. We have lost quite a lot of our physical presence up front with this change, but I think we do get a little bit more pace. Scotland are a high quality team, but they don't have too much speed themselves. Is pace going to be the factor that decides this game, or is it just going to be pure quality on the ball? I think in both cases, we are superior to Scotland. So I'm hoping we can bag 5 goals and guarantee our spot in that final. Of course, football never works like that, and Scotland defended like absolute animals. Every time we would get forward, there would be a Scotland player there to step in, to block the shot, to make us hit the ball wide. It was so infuriating because we were so close to scoring so many times in the first half, but Lubanski just did not have the finishing touch. The biggest drama happened right here. A brilliant tackle from our defender, but Scotland definitely felt like they should have had a penalty. And that was it for half-time. A game we needed to absolutely crush Scotland in was going to be 0-0 at half-time. We'd only had 1 shot each as well, so there weren't goals in this game. And that was really, really not very good. In our hearts, we were hoping Argentina was somehow losing, but it's so much more likely they're 2 or 3-0 up already. That means back to the spinner for us, even though we got so close to the final. Unless we can just get a few lucky breaks in this last 20 minutes and win this match. That's all we needed. 2 or 3 lucky breaks. Kasper Mack into Lubanski, and we had 20 minutes to try and bag a few more. The 1 is fine. That puts us in pretty good shape if there's a draw in the other game. But if Argentina are also 1-0 up and going to win 1-0, we are not in that final. As Scotland pushed forward, we could start playing on the counter, which suited Lato perfectly. What a ball that was from Boniek. And as he got in behind, we were thinking this is surely 2-0. But it was a great save from Ruff. And that was it. Time had ticked by, we'd only got the 1 goal, nothing was certain. But the reactions from our fans gave us some hope that maybe there was a result going on in the other leg. The Polish fans were definitely happy. We're still not actually sure what the Argentina score is, but as soon as we press Advanced A, it seems like somehow we've managed to do it. Poland are in the World Cup final, and I have no idea how we've got here first try. I did not think that a 1-0 win was going to be good enough. I thought we were going to be starting all over again, but somehow Argentina must have drawn on their big final day. They'll be playing in the 3rd place playoff, but we're in the World Cup final, and we'll be playing against the Netherlands. They don't have Cruyff in their squad anymore, and they did lose the 1974 final and did actually make it to this final in real life, so we know they're a very, very good team. But thankfully, for the first time in a while, we've regained that physicality gap. Sharma is back, and the Netherlands can be bullied. I mean, it worked with us when we were West Germany back in 1966. Maybe we can turn the aggression all the way up to 11 and just try to batter the Netherlands until they eventually make a mistake. We're definitely not going to be able to outplay them on the pitch. They're just so much better than us in that regard. But the World Cup final is now underway, and all of the pressure is on the Netherlands to finally win the tournament. Well, I say that, but there is also quite a lot of pressure on me, because if we lose this match, we are going to have to start all over again. The stakes have never been higher, and I've never felt less confident in a World Cup final in a FIFA game before. We have to be thankful that Johan Cruyff retired last year after a kidnapping attempt, because if he was in this team, then he would have finished one of the dozen of chances that the Netherlands made early on. We were trying to play hyper-aggressive because it has worked for us before, but just the press and the technical ability of the Netherlands made us feel so inferior. We were playing on the counter like we were a non-league team playing against a giant of Europe, and that's honestly how it felt. They had so much more pace, so much more technique, but they hadn't scored in the first half. Maybe if we kept it tight, we could take it to extra time and then hope for the flip of a coin that is penalties. I mean, that was the idea anyway. We were definitely playing a lot more defensive, but that also gave us a lot more options for us to pass the ball to. As we got used to having possession of the ball, all of a sudden chances would start to appear. We didn't have to move the ball with passes because we had such good technical dribblers. Dana was one of them, and his finesse shot was so close to going in the far corner, but it hit the post. We did put the ball in the net in the 57th minute. Dana again, but he was so marginally offside in a very controversial decision, but it did prove to be the right one from the assistant referee. We decided to up the press and really start to force Netherlands into making risky passes. A ball came off Van der Kerkhoff. It was Sharmak. It was Kasperzak. Surely not again. No! The defensive midfielder denied his 4th goal of the tournament by the post. He couldn't get on the end of the cross either, but it was all Poland for the last 20 minutes. I've never seen a player play like Kasperzak. He was absolutely everywhere. The killer ball didn't quite work that time, but there was still another 8 minutes left before the end of this game. Lubanski would get down the side. Could he get his shot off? He couldn't. Sjarmak would get the ball taken off him, but Lubanski would win it back. Back to Kasperzak. And that is Kasperzak's World Cup. He is the hero of this tournament if we go on to win. These are the stories that make the World Cup so special, but it's only going to be special if we win this tournament. Come on, Poland. Let's just defend. Defend for all that we have and hope that the Netherlands can't break us down. We have just 5 minutes now to hold on. As you'd expect, the Netherlands flooded forwards. Van der Kerkhoff, he gets harried by Boniek, but the referee sees that as a foul. But it's for Poland. I have no idea how we've been given that decision, but we have. We go long. Lato wins it. We decide to keep going forwards. We're not going straight to the corner. Dana crosses it in, and Van der Kerkhoff has to concede the corner. There's only one thing we can do here, and it's Kasperzak himself keeping it in the corner and confirming that Poland are world champions. No one would have expected this. When we got them at the start, I was disappointed. But we have gone on to win this tournament. I love every single one of these players, they deserve it, but Boniek, Kasper Jack especially, Dana, Lato, they are all heroes, and other than Boniek, they were totally unknown to me before I went back in time to play the 1978 World Cup. Mexico 86 has to be one of the most famous tournaments in history, iconic pictures, players and kits, but we only care about the quarterfinalists. There is a chance we can play as any of these, and it is an iconic set of nations. Argentina, England, Spain, Belgium, Brazil, France, West Germany and Mexico make our wheel this time, and where it lands, we're going to play. And this time, it's landed here. England, my home nation, but 1986 was not our best team. We have lots of players you might know, Waddle and Hoddle, Lineker and Beardsley, Butcher and Robson, but as a collective, we can't compete with the likes of Brazil, Argentina, West Germany or France. But that's what we're going to try. With some tweaks, we can also get John Barnes into the starting 11, and he knows how to beat them, get around the back. Lineker was the top scorer in 1986 with 6 goals, so we know we can score. I'm just worried about that defence. We also have a fairly tough group. Portugal, Poland and Morocco are all tough teams that are worse than us, but the chance of an upset in one of those matches is huge. Let's hope there's not 2 upsets, or we'll be heading back to the wheel faster than Maradona can stretch out his arm. We'll be starting off with a game against Portugal. This was a loss in June 1986, so we'll have to go into it expecting we can win. Will John Barnes and Gary Lineker link up well? Will Barnes and Lineker be able to link up well? And will Shilton be as good as he was in our 1979 Champions League video? Who will be that random player that somehow outperforms everyone out of nowhere? Well, kickoff has happened, so let's start answering those questions. England are going into this tournament as the 6th best team in the world. A quarter-final appearance is just about the expectations. They have a couple of very good players like Hoddle and Waddle, but only one you'd really consider to be elite world class, and that is Gary Lineker. It might take a little bit of juggling in the tactics to get this team firing, but I think once we get it right, there are definitely goals coming from that left-hand side. John Barnes was our best player in the first 20 minutes, but we were getting so many shots off that we were actually feeling quite positive. But the thing is, when you have this many shots, there's only so many you can take before that positivity turns negative. Like, were we just wasting the chances that we were creating? Lineker, Hoddle and Waddle were making so many chances, but John Barnes couldn't finish them off, Brian Robson couldn't finish them off, and Lineker was usually in the wrong position altogether. We needed someone to come out of the blue. Someone maybe like Ray Wilkins. Scoring with a slide tackle is so on brand for Ray Wilkins. We needed someone big to step up, and there's a reason that this guy was Chelsea captain at just 18 years old. Was he going to be the guy that was going to drag us to a World Cup final? In the second half, his performance didn't tail away. He got a couple of shots away and really should have scored a second. The constant breaks from midfield were just too much for Portugal to handle. He got into the box and pulled it across so unselfishly to give Gary Lineker a chance to score his first goal of the tournament. What a performance from the AC Milan midfielder. Ray Wilkins, definitely player of the match in our first game. That was that though. We had won, we were top of the group after the first game, and we were on form. Game 2 is against Morocco. Not a dangerous team, and England have actually never lost to an African side in their 120-year international football history. Is it going to be another easy win though? Probably not. While Morocco don't have any superstars, they are a well-drilled and good defensive side, and one that England would draw with in real life. While it was great that Wilkins put in that performance in the first game, we were hoping some of our better players could also share the load. I mean, there's only so many goals you can expect a defensive midfielder to score bursting through the middle. We decided against some tactical changes, mainly because we had destroyed Portugal so easily, but we definitely knew we needed to get Hoddle and Waddle on the ball in the box a little bit more, and in the first 20 minutes, things were looking encouraging. We also had Robson and Barnes both making good chances for themselves within the first half an hour. But just like in the first match, it seemed like we were attacking a lot, getting a lot of shots away, but for some reason, we just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. We played all the way to half time, it was still 0-0. To be fair, we had stifled Morocco's attack until the very last minute, but Shilton did bail us out just before the half-time break. It's another half of football, probably our third out of the 3 halves we've played, where we could take some positive things, but also probably regret missing the chances we have missed. This is what the World Cup's all about, I guess. If we can just get 1 goal, we are so firmly in control in our group stage that everything else doesn't really matter. Hoddle's cross comes in, and Wilkins is the man to get it again. The 5'8" midfielder out-jumping the 6'3" goalkeeper. That is pure passion. We're just 10 minutes to go. Lineker would win the ball in the left wing position, somewhere he's been playing a lot for Barcelona recently, run into the box, and he would smash it past the same keeper. 2-0, Gary Lineker's second goal, Wilkins' second goal, and we had got two 2-0 wins from our first two matches of the 1986 World Cup. So we're going to end the group stage with a game against a team we know all too well. We are through the group stage, we already know that, so we can swap some players out and give some of our superstars a bit of a rest. I mean, it is only Poland, a team that's much worse than it was back in 1978 when we used them. Lineker and Robson are both going to move to the bench, so it's all about preparing for the knockout rounds. A win and we're top of our group, a draw and we're top of our group, a loss, well, it's not going to happen, but we're still through. Pressure? What pressure? There's none on England in this match. It is quite interesting to see the longevity on some of these Polish players. About half the team is still the same as the one we used in 1978, but we definitely never scored a goal like that. They did one-touch passing straight through the middle, and it looked like maybe our depth wasn't quite as good as I first imagined. We had players like Peter Beardsley who had only scored one goal for England and only made about 6 appearances. We had about 4 of our players who were still playing in the Scottish Premiership, which at the time wasn't actually that different to the English Premiership, but still definitely a step down from the likes of Gary Lineker and Ray Wilkins who were playing in Serie A and La Liga. When we attacked, our chances were still not getting anywhere near the net. Thankfully, Poland would also waste a couple, because we could easily have been 3 or 4-0 down at half time. Of course, this is a game that doesn't really matter, we're through either way. Topping your group is always going to give you an easier opponent than coming second or potentially even third, which would be a bit of a disaster given how well we started off this tournament. So at half-time, we had to take the risk. Gary Lineker would come on, we would also bring on John Barnes and Peter Reid, and we just had to hope that at least one of these guys could make a moment out of nothing. With the amount of flair players we've got on the pitch, surely someone could just dribble round a couple and smash one in the top corner. We still had to try and defend whenever we could. While we were going for goals, it was a shame that Poland scored probably goal of the tournament against us, running from the halfway line, skinning 3 of our defenders and smashing it past one of the best goalkeepers in the world in Peter Shilton. Conceding a goal like that can be a bit of a disaster, knowing how vulnerable your team is on the counter-attack. And for the rest of the game, it was basically attack versus defend, or at least that's what we would try to do. Our attacks would fail every single time, and Poland would successfully defend every single attack we made. It's hard to fully blame the disaster on the changes we made, but I think we did mess it up. Our lack of goals finally cost us, but we are still safely through. Thankfully, we're into a pure knockout round tournament again. No more second group stage like in 1978. And as second place in our group, we'll be playing the third best team from one of the other groups, which actually turned out to be Paraguay. A South American minnow at their first World Cup since 1958. On paper, our B team should get past them with our eyes closed. But we're not going to try and do that. We're going to go full strength, and hopefully we can learn how to attack a little bit better too. Smashing in a few goals in a comfortable win is exactly what we want. So let's go and try and beat the boys from Paraguay. I can't say that I really know any of the Paraguayan squad from 1986, and if you're not from Paraguay, then I doubt that you will too. We should dominate this team, and I think it's safe to say in the first 10-15 minutes, we were dominating them. John Barnes knew how to beat them, he got round the back and then got taken out. I mean, looking at the replay, it was a soft penalty, but we're going to take that, and hopefully this is the first of many goals for Gary Lineker in this game. It's a good penalty. It probably could have been saved if the goalkeeper just moved his arm a little bit, but 15 minutes in, we're 1-0 up and looking like we're going to be going through to that quarter-final. Paraguay do have something about them in attack. Cabral into Cabanas forced a good save from Peter Shilton, but other than that, there was no real threat from either team in the first half. The referee blew, and we thought that maybe it was a good idea to make a couple of changes yet again. A lot of the threat from Paraguay was coming down their right or our left, so we took John Barnes off, we put Steve Hodge on. He's more of a centre midfielder, and John Barnes is more of an out-and-out winger. Hopefully with a little bit more solidity in there, we can go on to have a platform to let the rest of our flair players go. But of course, football never works like that. With just their second shot at the game, Paraguay would score a banger and Peter Shilton was nowhere near saving it. So now all the pressure was back on us. We had to try and score a second goal, something we've already done twice in this tournament so far, but something we weren't really looking like we were going to be able to do in this match. Despite Hoddle and Waddle getting so many shots away, all of them were blocked or deflected or saved or missed the target altogether. We needed another one of those rare moments where we just win the ball from a defender, run through and score, and Lineker did nearly get one. With 10 minutes to go, Paraguay had their third attack of the game. The cross came in, and Viv Anderson was beaten in the air by Hicks. This is a pure disaster. 2-1 down with just 5 minutes to go. We had to throw everything at this. Ray Wilkins tried to thread the ball down the right, but couldn't quite get it through the gap, but we did get a throw in high up the pitch. Surely our last chance. Chris Waddle beats 2 men, gets the cross in, but Lineker's not going to win a header against the goalkeeper. That was basically it. They would hoof the ball long, the referee would blow his whistle, and England were out of the tournament. An absolute disaster for England. Out of the World Cup in the round of 16 to a team much worse than them. An embarrassing performance, and there's not going to be a second chance for England. We've got to head back to the wheel, and there's a chance that we can get one of the teams that made it to the final, like Belgium or Mexico. We spin again with England removed, and as it slows down, it looks like it's going to be Argentina. Oh boy, that is some amazing news. You know how we said England couldn't compete with Brazil or Argentina? Well, this team is why. They have a 98 rated Maradona in his prime, supported by 3 or 4 other players who are rated above 90. They have Real Madrid's Valdano up front, they have Burruchaga and Boccini, who would get in any side in the world, and in the reserves we even have Passarella, a 94 rated player who missed the tournament because he had an intestinal infection. We're going to avoid using him for realism. Boccini is also going to be benched for Hector Enrique like they did in real life. This is the man that passed Maradona the ball for the goal of the century against England. It is a really good team, talent everywhere except at the back, and the strange formation also kind of adds to it. I'm not too sure where to slot Maradona, but I'll find a way to make him shine. Our group has better and worse teams than the one in England's group. Italy are challengers for the title, South Korea and Bulgaria are fodder. And we start out by playing against the Koreans, who are in their second ever World Cup and their first World Cup since 1954. You might know Korean legend Cha Bum-kun, but other than that, this team is basically nobodies. It should be a win, but as we already know from our experiences with England, these games are usually harder than they look. In the first 25 minutes, Korea were the team on top, and our defence looked fragile, until we finally got the ball to Maradona. He would beat 2 or 3 players before getting tackled, but we have to be careful not to prioritise using Maradona when we have other players in good positions. Talent and teamwork usually end up in wins, and that is exactly what Korea have. They might not have the talent of our players, but they're 1-0 up thanks to an absolutely unbelievable strike. Felt like we were trying to be too individual, beating too many players on a single dribble before trying to score the perfect goal. And Maradona probably would have been capable of it if it wasn't for how well these Koreans were marshalling him. Every time he got on the ball, he was hit with a slide tackle. But he was still impacting the game a lot more than anyone in that England team ever could. He would pass it to Batista, into Enrique, back to Maradona, and that could easily have found an equaliser. But we couldn't find the equaliser. With just 5 minutes to go, we were again throwing everything forwards, desperate to try and get a goal, and our attacks would break down faced with the defensive 5 players of the South Korean team. Despite us having the best player in the world at the time, we still couldn't break down a 4-star team, and that is a big red flag for a team as good as Argentina. As South Korea passed the ball out from the back, we knew that that was our last chance to win it. The referee blew, and it was not the start we wanted at all. We could definitely get Maradona on the ball, but just not into the game properly. With a big game against Italy coming up next, I think it's time to try some changes. While we want Diego to get the ball into his feet, maybe a target man works better for him. Does that work as a good combination, drifting wide? I don't think it does. We're going to move him to the left side of a 3 instead and give him a totally free role to try and find space. Let him take on a fullback as a winger rather than as a playmaker in the middle. You know what you're going to get when you play against Italy, a defensively sound team that have 2 or 3 elite players. They don't have a Maradona, but they have a couple of players who are just the level below, like Rossi up front, who is arguably the best striker in Europe in 1986. We know that a draw would be fine in this game, but all we have to do is get off to a good start. We can't concede early. Conti's cross, and Pietro Virtuad has bagged. He is one of the best centre-backs of his generation, but he had no business being that far up the pitch. That is a real kick in the teeth, because 9 minutes in, all of a sudden, we have to change our game plan altogether. But Maradona on the left does seem like it works a little bit better. He gets lucky with a couple of rebounds, and then finds some space, runs into the box, and that's our first goal with the big man. Is it his first of many, or is it just a flash in the pan? It's one of those things you can't be too sure at when you're at the World Cup. But scoring against a defensive-minded Italy is an absolutely great sign. Half-time comes, 1-1, we'll take that. If we could end the match right now, we absolutely would. And with 70 minutes gone, it's still 1-1. And then our defensive frailties come to the fore again. A massive amount of space for Rossi, the goalkeeper charges, not really what we wanted to do, and we go behind. Once again, we're going to have to try and force a goal out of absolutely nowhere. And Italy are so good at keeping the ball. But Enrique beats his man, finds a bit of space, gives it to Batista, our centre mid. He gives it to Burruchaga, but his finish is lacking. But time runs out, and we have lost again. This time it felt like it was actually a good performance. But still, you can't deny we're in danger of our first video with 3 spins. We are bottom of the group, and to guarantee a knockout round game, we're going to have to beat Bulgaria by at least 2 goals and take them by goal difference. It's not impossible, but Bulgaria are scarier than Korea, who we now fear. We decide to change Maradona's role again. Maybe by moving him back in the centre to be an attacking mid, we can get more out of him. If we can't get it out of him, we're out of the tournament. So it's a gamble we're going to have to take. Bulgaria are another team that don't have any superstars. They're a team we absolutely should be beating if we want to get through to the next round. But 2 goals is going to be tough. If we're going to do that, we're going to need a little bit of luck. And maybe a few moments of magic from Diego. Burruchaga into Maradona. Nice, he's looking good in this middle role. He beats 2 men, plays it through to Enrique, who's on the right this time, and that's the finish. After 4 minutes, we're already ahead by 1. We have 85 minutes to go on and bag a second, and we are looking good. Bulgaria don't really know what to do with us. All they can do is try and be aggressive and try and wear us down through injuries. Bulgaria seem like they are very solid when it comes to having a set defensive line. They definitely have taller players than us and more physical ones, but they should have had less players on the pitch altogether when their striker took us out while on a yellow card. But we had so much space in the middle in this game, we just again couldn't quite get the final pass right. Maybe we didn't need to pass though. Maradona can dribble, why not give it a go? He beats 2 men, drives into the box, dodges yet another slide tackle. The 3rd man doesn't want to commit. Shot goes in the net. Yeah, that's in the net. I thought it was side netting for a second. It's technically an Ilya Valov own goal, but I think Maradona would definitely claim that one in real life. What a dribble that was, and we're in the position we wanted to be in. The tackles don't stop flying in, but it doesn't really matter to us. All that matters is we've got that 2-goal lead and no one gets injured, and that's exactly the state we're in after 62 minutes. However, after 63 minutes, things have changed. Bulgaria just switch on the tiki-taka, a few one-touch passes, and the ball's in the back of the net. Once again, we're in a position where we're going to have to try and force a goal. Otherwise, we're going to be relying on Italy to beat South Korea. In the last minute, Bulgaria hit the post. Before they have the chance to do it again, the referee blows the whistle. Have we done it though? Are we through? The 1-goal win doesn't guarantee it. We're not sure what the Italy score is, but it turns out they've won 2-1. Scraping through the group stage with the 3rd best team in the competition does feel a bit embarrassing, but knockout football is where we know how to win. We can be defensive at the back, we can be happy to take teams to extra time, and we can hope Maradona can punch a couple of shots into the net. The next match is against the hosts Mexico, and they are dangerous. Hugo Sanchez is the man of the moment with 2 goals in his last game and 4 in the tournament already. But stop him and we stop Mexico. It does feel like a rivalry match, at least to the Mexicans. Argentinians don't really view it the same way. that might mean we're going to be facing another very aggressive opponent. So we're going to have to protect Maradona, but more importantly, put Mexico in their place, which is out of their own tournament. We had a very good start, but so did Mexico. It felt more like a boxing match, with Sanchez and Maradona both just swapping blows. Maradona would have our next chance after 20 minutes, playing through Burruchaga, who would hit the post for the second time in the game. Was it going to be one of those days where we just could not bag a goal? Valdano would have the next chance, his shot saved by Larios and the rebound hurriedly cleared away. Maradona would win the next chance. Burruchaga would finally see Valdano with enough space to take his time. A nice finish, and we're 1-0 up just before half time. Thank God that one found the net. If that hit the post as well, I would think we were cursed and not destined to ever win the 1986 World Cup. Somehow, we had managed to put together a tactic that saw our best players in their best positions, and Mexico just could not get near our goal. They would just keep attacking, and Enquiries would hit one. Oh, it's found the top corner. That is so unlucky. How many times have we conceded a banger in this tournament with Argentina? It's about time we get one of our own, and we're going to need one probably if we're going to somehow end up winning this match in normal time. Maradona would try his best, but he would miss the target altogether. He's very disappointed with that one. He would get another chance in the very last minute of the game, running past 3 into the box, finessing it, and not finding the far post. And that would be it. Full time. That means extra time, which means another 30 minutes, which means even more tired players if we do manage to make it through in this half. If we can get an early goal and take it easy with the rest of our players, then that is going to decide how well we do in this tournament. Maradona would beat 3 and Enrique would get the goal in the first half of extra time. I'm not sure about the celebration, but I am very sure that what Maradona just did is probably going to save our tournament. The mission now is to just try and keep possession of the ball and try to stop any injuries and try to stop any fatigue setting in. And of course, Mexico's mission was the exact opposite. They would flood almost all of their players forward, but somehow we had just enough to stop them on a couple of occasions. When we had a chance to counter, we knew we had to score from this. If we could, it was game over. Valdano would beat his man. He would find Trabani, one of our defensive players, who would smash it into the back of the net. 3-1 up with just 4 minutes to go. We knew that that was basically it. On paper, if you look at that game, other than the lucky banger, we had demolished Mexico. I think we'd finally figured out how to use Maradona, and we were definitely a lot more dangerous going forwards. If things had gone differently in the Italy-Korea game, we would have been out. But now we had a real chance at going all the way. The quarterfinals. Who would we be playing? It was going to be England. 4 years on from the war, and 10 minutes on from our attempt to win the World Cup with them, we were back playing the English. If there's one team in this tournament that we know the strengths of, it is definitely England, and it's definitely not at the back. It wasn't actually clear if John Barnes would be playing, but when we'd seen they'd dropped Lineker, Hoddle and Wilkins out of their team altogether, we knew we had a chance. They were also using the same average back 5 that we were using, but without any of the attacking threat that we had. Let's just hope we don't need the hand of God to beat them like we did in the same round with the same teams in 1986. Burruchaga into Valdano. Is that a run from Maradona? No, it isn't. We're going to turn, hit the ball, and find top bins. Now that is a goal worthy of any World Cup game. Finally, we get our own banger. The turn was amazing, but the finish was just unreal. Straight in the top corner. Nothing Shilton can do about that. And then we decide to do the Bulgaria strategy. Let's just try and take out England whenever they attack. It seems to kind of work because they're rushing their shots and we're getting the counter-attack opportunities. Valdano would beat his defender, through and beat another one, and if he'd got that finish right, I'd have said we already had 1 foot in the semi-final. Can we hold on though, at least until half time? And it was looking like we probably would. Maradona would get on the ball, he would beat 2 players, he's got a couple of runners ahead of him, but he's not going to use them. He's going to try and go the whole way, and Brian Robson was the man to stop him scoring a very similar goal to the one he scored in '86. And half time, that is 1-0. We've put in a great first half despite how depressed our players look. All we have to do is continue that for another 45 minutes. Of course, we know England are going to try and get the equaliser. It would be stupid if they didn't. So when you've got players like Maradona tracking back on Chris Waddle, taking the yellow cards and picking him up with a bit of sass, you know you've got something good going on. And that was basically it. We just kicked England to pieces in the second half. They just could not get near us. They had one last attack until Maradona would intercept it. He wasn't done there. He was in a proper fight with Stevens and he would push him back to the halfway line, at which point the referee would say that was game over. Full time was definitely a more cordial atmosphere than you probably would have expected going into the game. Both teams were appreciating the quality on offer, even if Maradona didn't have the best game. But Argentina had made it through to the semi-finals. Alongside them were Brazil, Spain and Belgium, with Brazil drawn against us in the semi-final. This had to be the most difficult game we would ever face. Our rivals in a semi-final, with tired players and our star striker one yellow card away from a suspension in the final. We decided to bring Boccini back into the first team, who had been left out since that must-win game against Bulgaria. He was Maradona's idol as a child, and this was going to be his last tournament. He had one more chance to make his nation proud, and that's the kind of mentality we're going to need if we're going to beat Brazil. If we can't beat them, it's back to the wheel, and this video is going to be an hour long. Let's hope that our next match is not in the group stage again. Brazil kick off, and I think we're going to have to hope that the weather plays some kind of part in Argentina winning this game, because without it, Brazil are just deadly. Socrates, Careca, Zico, Falcao and Casa Grande are all unreal players, and for the first 10 minutes, we were just doing anything to get the ball clear. Rather than Socrates and Zico like I was expecting, a lot of their threat came from Casa Grande, their 6'3" false 9 precursor player. He would smash one off the post, but we wouldn't get the rebound, and Brazil were ahead just before half time. Going 1-0 down was a bit of a disaster. I don't know that we've got 2 goals in us to beat Brazil. We might have 1 if we're lucky, but their pace at the back is absolutely stifling. Every time Brazil attack, even from big goal kicks like this one from Leao, they look like they can make chances. Careca is just so good in the air, and Casagrande towers above any of our defenders. So the first half was over, and it wasn't looking very positive for Argentina. We had to try and get Maradona on the ball, or try and get a moment of magic. So when Maradona played it across to Boccini, the rebound was headed into the net. That was what we mean. A little bit of luck, we finally have an attack, and a rebound falls our way. Of course, it had to be Boccini. We bring him back in from the cold, and he repays the favour. But we just have to hold on now and hope we can get extra time and penalties. There's definitely not another goal in us, especially with how we've been playing so far. Maybe it is the weather that is making it harder for us to dribble, but it doesn't seem to be affecting how Brazil attack. This time, Casagrande does not need a rebound, and we're behind yet again. This is turning into a bit of a nightmare. It means we're going to have to push forwards against one of the most attacking teams in the world, just to try and get lucky, to try and get a chance, but whatever we try, it doesn't seem to come off. We have to get Maradona in the game more, but our next move just totally bypasses him altogether. We get it into Valdano, who turns his man, runs into the box, cuts back, and finesses it far post. That is exactly what we wanted. Somehow we have scored 2 goals, and we are level with 65 minutes on the clock. I think our second half performance should definitely give us some confidence going into the rest of this match, and it took until the 80th minute for Brazil to have their next chance. The cross was caught, but they just kept coming and coming. We would defend every long ball, but they would still make chances even if they were barely half chances. But we'd done it. We'd seen out the 90 minutes. Just 30 minutes to go, and maybe, just maybe, we can beat them on penalties. We had to make some changes because Boccini is about 36 years old and our defence was looking tired. I think we have to be disappointed with how little we've used Maradona in this game. While he has been pressing, and you probably noticed he's on a yellow card, he didn't get a chance until the 99th minute. He would dribble round 1, round 2, round 3, but the shot was deflected over the bar. As the rain had stopped in extra time, both teams were suddenly playing a lot better. Maradona for us, but Muller for them, marginally offside with a header that could have easily beaten our goalkeeper. Maradona provided another chance for Valdano, and it's a brilliant save from Leao. Things were getting tense at the Azteca. Batista's shot nearly found the far post, but the clock ticked on. It was inevitable. This was going to penalties, something that we weren't too unhappy with. We have a couple of very good penalty takers, very good finishers, and Brazil have a bit of a reputation for not winning penalty shootouts. Up first for them was Careca. We dived the right way. 1-0 to us, that is beautiful. Burachega took ours, top corner. Next was the inexperienced Muller, 20 years old, down the middle, perfect penalty. Batista, who missed in the 116th minute, missed his penalty too. Zico was next for Brazil, and of course he is always going to score. It was Enrique for us, third, he goes top right. Falcao was stepping up for Brazil. His penalty was saved. Valdano would take our next one, he would find the net. All the pressure was now on Socrates. He had to score. He runs up, stutters, and does score, meaning Maradona can win this. If there was one man we wanted to take this penalty, it was Diego. This is exactly what we wanted to happen. This is why we chose him as the 5th penalty taker. He nails the composure, he nails the penalty, and Argentina are into the World Cup final. With Brazil beaten, Belgium beckoned. And this was the Belgians' best ever performance in a World Cup. In the real 1986 World Cup, they finished 4th, but after being part of the very first World Cup match back in 1930, they wanted to make some history again. But so did we. Maradona deserved a World Cup, but this Belgian team can look quite scary too. While we have the 2 best players on the pitch in Valdano and Maradona, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th best players on the pitch were all Belgian. While we had our 2 stars in the attack, they had depth in every position. One of their stars, Erwin van der Berg, had just hit a hat-trick in the semi-final, and that's the reason they're in this match. It is not a foregone conclusion. Argentina might technically be the better team, and the Azteca is packed out with Argentinian fans, but this Belgium team are also a massive threat, especially on the counter-attack. The first 15 minutes was all about controlling possession. If we could stop them making any chances, we were not into any danger. And while our chances we were creating weren't really the best, they still were happening. Comparing this team to the Brazil one we just faced is night and day. We could actually get Maradona on the ball even if our decision making wasn't always the best. For some reason, it felt like both teams were a bit complacent. Faf taking almost too long with his goal kick, and then we just let a massive hole in our defence give Belgium a chance to hit our crossbar. Thankfully, we got the rebound this time, not like that Brazil goal in the semi-final. Winning a World Cup final is all about a moment of magic, and were we about to get one from Diego? He would turn, he would beat 2 men, he would beat another one in midfield, and he would almost play the perfect pass through to the on-rushing wing-back. But half-time came, and half-time went. It was still 0-0, and nothing we could do could break down this stubborn Belgium defence. Were we about to get the first 0-0 of the tournament, every other game has had at least 1 goal, so of course it would be typical for the final to not have one at all. Our chances were so close to coming off on multiple occasions. In the 72nd minute, we got our best one yet, Batista from midfield, but he didn't have the pace to get away. He couldn't quite run into the gap and then finish the shot. Enrique would see Valdano, and this is what we wanted. We pulled it back instead of shooting, and De Mol was on hand to clear the ball. Maradona, with just 3 minutes left, was brought down on the edge of the box. This is what the World Cup final's all about. A free kick in the 88th minute. Hit with pace. Hit over the bar. I really did think that was going to be the moment for Diego to become a legend. He had one more chance in the very last minute of the game. He beat 2 men. His shot caught by Faf. Even with 90 minutes of trying and between 10 and 15 shots on target, we just could not beat the Belgians. Boccini was brought on. We saw what he did against Brazil. Could he do it again? Well, while we were in charge of the first 90 minutes, the next 30 minutes were all Belgium. They would make chance after chance, which they were not doing in normal time, as they pushed on for the win. But despite their attacking nature, we couldn't find any holes in their defence. They were so calm on the ball and so composed that they saw out the rest of the match. And that would be another penalty shootout. It was clear that the Belgians were not as good as the Brazilians at penalties, but their goalkeeper was definitely better at saving them. If we were going to win this tournament, we had to win this penalty shootout. Klaasen's first penalty was saved, and Boccini would step up, go down the middle and put us ahead 1-0. Keulemans, their left winger, was up next. He had a long run up. He went left. We thought he was going right. Up next was Batista, our defensive midfielder. He's our worst penalty taker, and this time he does score. Van der Eycken comes up next, another winger for Belgium. As he runs up, we try and put him off, but he goes left, we go right. Next, our striker, Real Madrid's Jorge Valdano, steps up, gets his penalty saved. After 3 penalties each, it's 2-2. Schifo, next up for Belgium. He goes right, we go right, but it's in off the post. Diego is not taking our winning penalty. A bit of a shame, but he steps up, and of course, he's always going to score. Esmet is next. If he doesn't score and we score our next, we have won the World Cup. A long run up. He steps up and misses the target altogether. Jorge Luis Burruchaga, known as Burru, has the chance to win the World Cup. In real life, he scored the winning goal in the final of the 1986 World Cup. He steps up. He goes down the middle, and he has done it again for us. We're not going to have to go back to the wheel. We have won the 1986 World Cup with Argentina. A lot of it was down to Diego Maradona. While we didn't score any Maradona-esque goals with him, it was actually so fun to be able to use him in his prime with a team of his contemporaries to win the World Cup in 1986. This challenge started in the 60s, then I played in 78. 86 followed last episode, and I'm hyped to start the 1998 World Cup today. You voted for this World Cup. You know how iconic it was, hosted by France and also won by France. There is a chance we even get to play as the hosts, but to find out what team we're using, we spin the wheel. Brazil, Denmark, Holland, Argentina, Italy, France, Germany and Croatia are on it. It's spinning, and where's it going to land? It looks like it's going to be the Netherlands. Sadly, we never got to use them in the prime Cruyff era, but we've noticed they've got very close to winning a couple of the World Cups we've been playing. When you play as the Netherlands, you have to use a 4-3-3. That's the rules. There is no other way to use this nation. I think the FIFA commentators back then even used to say this, but the tactics are changed and things are looking good. We should probably introduce the squad too, because this is a ridiculous team. You know Bergkamp up front, a technical god and lethal finisher. Van der Sar in goal is another player you'll definitely know. He's only 27 years old for us and has another 15 years of career ahead of him. Frank de Boer is an Ajax legend as player and manager. Clarence Seedorf is a 21-year-old wonderkid for us, but went on to be one of the best of his generation. Edgar Davids, Gio van Bronckhorst, Patrick Kluivert, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Jaap Stam and Mark Overmars all also had elite careers. Even players like Ruud van Nistelrooy would narrowly miss out on making the squad. This is a team that could go all the way. But we're not the only one producing legends in the 90s. France have Henry, Zidane, Desailly, Thuram and Vieira. Brazil have Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Dunga, Cafu and Roberto Carlos. Germany have Klinsmann and Matthäus. Even England, probably the 6th or 7th best team at the World Cup, have Shearer, Scholes, Owen and Rio Ferdinand. This is a stacked World Cup, and one that I can't wait to play. So let's not waste another moment and go straight in to our first match of the group stage of the 1998 World Cup. You might laugh when you see our formation. It is very asymmetrical, but I think it's going to get the best out of Dennis Bergkamp and also Patrick Kluivert. The whole point of the front three is to have a runner in behind in Mark Overmars, a finisher in Kluivert and a playmaker in Bergkamp. We were definitely hoping there would be some promising signs in the start of this match. So when Van der Sar volleyed one upfield and it looked like Kluivert was going to win the race, we thought we could be on for our first goal within the first 10 minutes. Kluivert got one-on-one, pushed his man away, but didn't quite have the finish. An early goal would have been great, but it showed we have the pace to get in behind on the counter-attack as well as playing some attacking possession. And also, we have two good wide men who are good at pumping crosses in. We really needed to try and get Bergkamp on the ball a little bit more. He actually recovered it himself. He turned Oliveira, got through one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but would hit the post with a really unlucky finesse shot. We had to keep trying to give him the ball. We saw his run, a beautiful cross, and an even better header. He has technique with his feet, but clearly he's also fairly good in the air, and we're 1-0 up against our low country rivals. Belgium tried to answer back. We defended well, and surely we were going to get a free kick, but no, the referee said that was a fine challenge. I don't see them winning the ball myself, but Belgium officially get the equaliser, and we are feeling quite hard done by. That's half-time too. They've had one shot, they've got into our box once, had one attack, and we go in level. But in the second half, Belgium seemed to take the brakes off. As they pushed forwards, there was more space for Bergkamp and Cocu to get on the ball, and Bergkamp couldn't quite get around De Bock. But Kluivert's shot could easily have found the top corner on another day, so it was proof that 4-3-3 was starting to work. However, it needed to work even faster, because we only had 5 minutes to go. Kluivert couldn't beat his man, and that was basically it. There'd be one more chance for Belgium, Davids would defend it, as would Cocu, but it would still just keep rebounding, and thankfully, the last second shot would only hit the stanchion behind the net. So that was it. Game week 1 over. The first match of the 1998 World Cup complete, and Mexico have beaten South Korea, meaning we are officially second in our group. If Mexico can beat South Korea though, there's no reason a team with 85s to 90 rated players in can't do the same. We weren't too keen on Kluivert and Overmars, but we decided not to change it up just yet. We're going to stick with them and not bring in Hasselbank or Van Hooijdonk until maybe the third game, if we know we're through into the knockout rounds. But this is a huge game for us. South Korea are a team we've played before in previous World Cups, and we know they can be dangerous. They've always got a couple of very good players, and they've always got a very hard-working midfield and defence. So if we're going to make any chances, we need to be at our technical best, and we need to be ruthless with the chances we make. No more Bergkamp hitting the post. We need him to find the side netting. On the 20th of June 1998, the Netherlands would beat South Korea 5-0. So we knew we had to try and get goals. Bergkamp was absolutely phenomenal in the first half. It seemed like everything we did was flowing through him. But like we said, Korea always have a threat, and it seems like it's always from distance against us too. Their midfielder blasts one in the far corner, and there's nothing Van der Sar can do. They would keep making chances, and this time thankfully missed the target, but easily it could be 2-0. Would we finally get a bit of good luck? No, Kluivert would be brought down in the box, no penalty, and that would be half time. Going in behind 1-0 is definitely not something we thought was even possible when we kicked off this game. So maybe now is the time to make those changes we talked about. We're going to bring De Boer on as a right winger, and Leeds United's Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank is going to lead the line. Hopefully he links up well with Bergkamp, because we really need to make our attack work in the second half. We were so close to intercepting one 8 minutes into the second half. And again, we did actually intercept one, but the pass was the wrong option. We should have gone to Bergkamp instead of Hasselbank. But we were making more chances with Hasselbank up front. Bergkamp and him did link up really well. Hasselbank in the box, and it's a really poor finish. How many times are we going to say that in this video? De Boer would beat one, beat two, and finally we would get the breakthrough we felt like we deserved. We're going to pick the ball up, rush back to the centre circle, and try and get that winning goal. Because if we draw, it's going to put a lot of pressure on this third match. Hasselbank down the left, holding off a defender, gets into the box, but there was no options for him to pass to, and the shot was blocked. And that was it. A 1-1 draw, 2 draws from our first 2 games, and South Korea are actually celebrating, probably because they didn't expect to even get a point in this tournament. And that means, to go through, we're going to have to beat second place Mexico, otherwise we're going back to the wheel. This time, we're starting with Hasselbank, and we're starting with De Boer. They definitely improved things in that second half. Even if their attributes aren't quite as good, maybe they have that mythical X factor that the likes of Eusebio didn't have with Portugal when we used him, and Ray Wilkins definitely did for England when we were in 1986. Anyway, the must-win match has kicked off, and we need a few moments of fortune. Bergkamp put it on a plate for Hasselbank, one touch and over the Mexican goalkeeper. That's what we're talking about. The link-up play between these two is so much better than what it was when we had Kluivert. Of course, Mexico don't want to get knocked out, and if we beat them, they're definitely out of this tournament. So they started throwing everything forwards. That left more and more gaps, and even though Bergkamp doesn't have enough pace, you'd imagine he'd score here, but he can't even hit the target. He was the main reason I was excited to use the Netherlands in this tournament, but we just can't get Bergkamp to play like Bergkamp. There was only 15 minutes to go when our left back lost his man. They would run through. He had the pace to get away from De Boer, but the touch was so heavy that Van der Sar could collect it from his feet. That was a pure moment of luck. Without that, I think that must have been an equaliser, and we'd have been heading out of this tournament. But Hernandez would have one last chance. He's a bit of a Mexican legend. He runs the wrong way. If he ran towards goal, I think he would have had a chance. The cross is poor. Stam defends it. Davids finishes the game. And we have made it through the knockout stage. In many ways, it was a disappointing group stage performance. But we scored in every single game. So we are pretty good at going forwards. That's what I think we need to focus on for the rest of this tournament. Just try and hog possession near opposition boxes. And that's going to be harder than it sounds against Germany. But if we go attacking from minute 1 with Hasselbank, and I think we're going to play De Boer in this one too, then we do have the players to do it. But there's no denying, this is the best team we've played against so far. Even just Matthäus, Klinsmann and Bierhoff on their own are more than good enough to kill us. We're going to have to be at our best on the attack and on the defence in this one. Otherwise, we're out the tournament and we're back to the wheel. There was just so much danger coming from their attackers though. Klinsmann would keep turning and seeing runners, usually Oliver Bierhoff, and we were so lucky that Van der Sar was keeping us in this match. We were being forced to play on the counter-attack too, which is absolutely not what we've been set up for. And it led to things like Mark Overmars or Cocu being on the end of our crosses, which really is never going to work against some massive defenders from Germany. But still, we made it to half-time at 0-0, which I guess can be considered a success. In the second half, we definitely need to focus on getting on the ball more. Dennis Bergkamp has barely touched the ball while Klinsmann has been dropping off and dominating it. The second half kicks off and within 5 minutes we are starting to dominate the ball a little bit more. David sees a good run from Van Bronckhorst, but it's well defended by Germany. So yeah, the first 10 minutes of the half, things are looking a lot more promising. But still, it's not total domination. Bierhoff would cross the ball in so close to Klinsmann and a really brave save from Van der Sar. We would try to clear it, but we can't even do that. Moller into Matthäus, another great save from Van der Sar. We were now officially playing on the counter-attack. It was a great run from Bergkamp, but an even better pass. Through one-on-one against Oliver Kahn. Finesses it off the post. How many times have we hit the post in this World Cup already? Slightly better finishing. We would have topped our group. We also would have been into the round of 16 by beating Germany. But as it stands, it's going to extra time. Germany would hit the post themselves, but I think he was offside. The centre-back getting forwards. And we had less than 10 minutes to try and win this. Davids, Seedorf, over the bar. Less than 5 minutes now. Let's do some desperate changes. Kluivert and Overmars can come on. And let's just hope that that somehow works. Bergkamp, well, he sees Edgar Davids. He's going to hit this. Yes, that's exactly what we needed. A midfielder making some space. A brilliant run from Kluivert and a brilliant pass from Bergkamp. And Davids has what it takes to finally beat Oliver Kahn. Can we hold on? Well, Germany tried to, but we were pressing as hard as we could with Kluivert. It kind of wore the clock off a little bit. They would have one last ball, but Jaap Stam would get there. Helmer into Hassler. Bierhoff with a crazy volley. If that gone in, I would have been pretty impressed. But Van der Sar stops it. One last kick. And we are through into the quarter-finals. In the real round of 16 game, Netherlands would beat Yugoslavia 2-1 with a 92nd minute Edgar Davids goal. You can't say that this game isn't realistic. But anyway, we're into the quarterfinals. Potentially just 3 matches left in this episode and 3 matches to win France 98. We have to simulate for a couple of days to figure out who our opponents are going to be. We're hoping it's not one of the European giants, but sadly, it's England. And this is a really good England team. Every one of their players is performing well. Alan Shearer's got 5 already. Sheringham and Owen have got a couple of goals too. And Beckham's already on 4 assists, which is absolutely outstanding. But we're going to go back to our strongest team. I don't think Hasselbank or De Boer really did too much to impress me in that previous match, so let's give Kluivert and Overmars a go again. There's no harm in trying it. We can always sub them off at half-time, and the game kicks off, and we're now less than 3 matches potentially away from the final. We bullied Graham Lasso with Overmars, and we got taken down. Probably an early yellow card, you'd imagine. It's red! Oh, that is brilliant news. We've had no luck in this tournament, and now we get an early red card. That means we can officially dominate the possession. We have an extra man, and England don't have any defenders on their bench. They're actually going to end up putting Alan Shearer at left back, so we know we have enough pace to beat him with Mark Overmars. And we do nearly beat him a couple of times, and we nearly even slide tackle Siemens' clearance. Koku gets on the ball. Can he beat Sol Campbell? He cuts inside. He gets some space. He gets the shot away. And Gary Neville can't block it on the line. That's what we're talking about. We have dominated possession in this first half. We have made so many chances, and we deserve that lead. Koku punishes Shearer, who's now inverted into DM, and it's Sheringham who's playing at left back. I have no idea what the England manager's playing at, but this is very good for us. England just have absolutely nothing going forwards, and there's no danger coming from them. All of the threat is coming from our wings, as you, I guess, would expect, with one of them up against Alan Shearer. But as Beckham walks off the pitch looking angry, we have dominated the ball, but we really do need to get more shots off and probably improve how well we're passing it into the dangerous areas. The second half is underway, and it seems like England haven't made any changes. They're still playing Alan Shearer at left back. We will take that all day. Davids into Seedorf, and he's got a couple of runners. One of them's Burkamp. Can he get around Sol Campbell? He can. Can we play an Overmars? We can't on this occasion. And that basically summed up our second half. We decide to give a couple of other players a go, including Van Hooijdonk, who's playing in the English second division for Nottingham Forest, but having just bagged 29 goals and 5 assists. But who knows, maybe the 6'4" striker is what we need. Hasselbank pulls it across, and there he is. Pierre Van Hooijdonk makes it 2-0, and we're feeling pretty comfortable that now we are getting into the semi-finals. All thanks to Graham Lasso deciding to get a red card in the 6th minute. It's confirmed, we are in there. We're one of the 4 best teams in the world, and I think that's a fair assessment for how good this team really looks. One of the other teams in the semi-finals is Belgium, and we know we can probably beat them if we play them again, but we get drawn against Italy. If you don't know about Italy in 1998, then you just need to look at their defence. Maldini, Cannavaro, Nesta and Costa Curta were a solid defence in 1998, but was still a solid defence 10 years later. There's a reason that they are legends, and they also start Buffon in goal, which means we're probably not going to get too many chances in this game. Just looking at the team, it's just absolutely crazy. Del Piero off Baggio is just so creative. But those 3 defenders are going to make it a nightmare to make any chances. Burkamp tries to turn. Will he get the shot away? He won't. Kluivert loses the ball to Albertini, but wins it back. Can Overmars get there first? He can. Kluivert gets blocked by Nesta. Italy have a really good counter-attacking system. They get down the left. It's Del Piero in the middle. It falls to him, but Yapstam just gets a foot in before we go behind. There's just this solid line of 8 defenders, though, that we can't get near. When we do win it, Cannavaro's there to play make from the back. It is just so defensive. But still, I love playing against it. This is a challenge. We have a lock that we're trying to unpick, and we have the players to do it. Although for a second, I thought we might only have 10 players to try and do it with. But the first half's over, and it's really, really dull. We haven't even had a single shot on target. They've had about 60% of the ball, and we just can't get near it. So we decide to make some changes. Burkamp is off, Van Hooijdonk is on. Hopefully that kind of signals what kind of strategy we're going for. We want Van Hooijdonk to be stood on Cannavaro, where he's got about 5 or 6 inches, because he can win headers. Like there, he beats Nesta, but doesn't quite have the pace to beat Maldini in behind. It's proof that this long ball tactic can work. We've abandoned total football, and we've gone for route 1. Van Hooijdonk would play it through. Davids would get there. Kluivert would get there. Buffon's nowhere. And we've gone ahead. Buffon charging for a ball he was never going to get to. And Kluivert is cool and calm enough to beat him and slotted into the empty net. Have that Cannavaro. Have that Nesta. Have that Maldini. We have beaten you. And now we just have to try and hold on. The long ball still kind of pays off. Anything we fire at Van Hooijdonk is being won, and the same for Kluivert against Cannavaro. Italy playing a more continental style of one-touch passing, and sometimes it doesn't come off. We can counter-attack again. Kluivert into Van Hooijdonk. Can he beat Nesta? Oh, he passed it before the tackle came in, but Overmars volleys it. Oh, that would have been the insurance goal. We really could have used that. 5 minutes to go. Albertini into Vieri, who's coming off the bench. The Van Bronckhorst gets it. Davids clears it. And now we have the chance to counter again. Van Hooijdonk into Overmars. Into Van Hooijdonk. Can we get this pass right? We can. It's Overmars again. Can he get his first goal of the tournament? He's going to hit it. Straight at Buffon's legs. That's 2 chances now for Overmars. Maybe De Boer is going to have to play if we do get to the final. But we can't count any chickens. Cannavaro with the shot from the edge of the box. Van der Sar holds it, and there it is. The Netherlands have made it to the final, where they're going to be playing one of Belgium or Brazil. We've already played both of those teams in finals before. Now we know we can mix it up. We can play long ball, we can play tiki-taka, we can play total football if we want. We are not scared of Brazil. Okay, maybe we are. 95 rated Ronaldo, 90 rated Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos, Cafu. There are so many legendary players in the Brazil 98 team. Of course, this is a Brazil 98 team that actually did make it to the final. Ronaldo was missing from the squad until he actually appeared against France and didn't really put in the best performance, so let's hope that he matches that again. The Netherlands against Brazil, 2 of the most legendary teams from the 70s, battling it out in 1998. We get it to Van Bronckhorst. The cross comes across, and Overmars is still looking for that goal, but nowhere near it on that occasion. Roberto Carlos down the wing, and that's a lot of space for Denilson. Reisiger with a bad tackle, to be fair, but no, the referee's not going to give us a card, and in fact, he's just going to let the 2 players sort of shout at each other. Good refereeing. Ronaldo stopped by De Boer. Love to see that. Can we counterattack? Overmars into Bergkamp. We have Kluivert making a run. Oh, but Cafu is way too fast for us, and Taffarel is just going to clear it. We're nearly at the half-time mark, where I think 0-0 would also be a good performance for us. But Rivaldo's found Dunga. Oh, it's a brilliant save from Van der Sar again. Rivaldo and Dunga linking up really well. Corner comes in, well punched away by Van der Sar. Is there a chance for a counter-attack again? Overmars into Kluivert. Is he going to try and find Overmars again? He is. And Overmars is through. Can he get away from Roberto Carlos? Oh, I don't think he could, but Aldair steps in anyway. And it's going to be 0-0 in the final at half-time. We're not going to go for the long ball tactic just yet. We might save that for the last 20 minutes if it looks like we aren't going to make more chances. Brazil keep playing how they always want to. Skillful wingers getting crosses into big target men. But Van der Sar is always there when it matters. Rivaldo into Emerson. Out to Ronaldo. First time he's had a shot, and that is absolutely dreadful. He is not playing very well. Ronaldo again. He beats De Boer. He beats Davids. He's into the box. It's a brilliant block from both of them though. Rivaldo recycles it into Dunga. Rivaldo, really powerful shot, but Van der Sar is there again. Brazil keep attacking, but we've made it to the 77th minute, and I think about now is the perfect time to make those changes. As usual, Marc Overmars has done nothing but disappoint us over and over again, so we'll take him off. And also Kluivert for Hasselbank to get a little bit more pace up there and maybe a little bit more physicality. Van Hooijdonk through the middle, Hasselbank off the right, and Bergkamp supplying them with all the ammunition they need. On paper, this is an absolutely brilliant front three. However, football isn't played on paper, and Cafu beats Van Hooijdonk to the first header we try to give him. Our defending is solid, and we're fully on the counter now. Bergkamp, he's got the Hasselbank run out wide. He's got Van Hooijdonk, the target man, in the middle, and Bergkamp also making a run. The cross is fine, but Taffarel just about gets a fist to it. Carlos, Emerson, and that's it. We're going to extra time in the final. Is anyone going to become a hero for one of these teams? Brilliant tackle from Seedorf, and a really good pass too. Van Hooijdonk's got 2 runners and only one other defender, and he finds Bergkamp basically one-on-one. He sees Carlos. We could probably pull this across. We tried to go around the goalkeeper, and that is the wrong decision again from Bergkamp. What a disaster of a World Cup he's having. Davids into Koku. He scored one before. Oh, but he hits the post. That's so close, just glancing off the post. And that would have basically won us the match. Leonardo, he tries to turn. He chips it towards Rivaldo, and that's never going in. Carlos down the left. Emerson, he's got Ronaldo, but he doesn't need him. He tries to play it to Dunga. It does fall to Ronaldo. He has one chance. Seedorf clears, and we are just holding on. Dunga gets the ball again, tries to finesse it. Cruz gets beaten to it by Bergkamp. The ball's cleared, and this World Cup final is going to penalties. This is not the first final to go to penalties. No spoilers if you haven't watched the other episodes. So we have a decent idea about how penalties work. Usually, we like to put our best penalty takers as 5 and 4, just so that we can make sure we can score when we're in the pressure environment. But our penalty shooters are actually really good. Even Jaap Stam down the bottom is a 79 rated penalty taker. So we do have the talent to win this. However, Brazil are also, of course, very, very technical. Ronaldo takes their first penalty and hits it in off the post. That was so close to being a disaster for Brazil. Clarence Seedorf, the wonder kid, steps up next and bags his in the top right. Fiorentina's Brazilian striker Edmundo is next, facing Van der Sar. He goes left, and so do we. And that means Frank de Boer has the chance to go ahead in the penalty shootout. He's a really good penalty taker. He steps up and makes it 2-1 to the Netherlands. Cafu, playing for Roma at this point, is next. Of course, a legend of the game, and he takes a legendary penalty into the side netting. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank can put us 3-2 up after 3 penalties. He goes left, and so does their goalkeeper Taffarel, and all of a sudden, we're level again. Roberto Carlos up next, one of the Galacticos, a stutter, and he sends Van der Sar the wrong way. We have Dennis Bergkamp up next to make this 3-3. If we don't score here, we're in bad situation. But he does score. Finally, Dennis Bergkamp does something for us. Rivaldo steps up next. Of course, another legend of the game, playing for Barcelona. He steps up and Panenkas it down the middle of the goal. So we have to score this one, and up steps Pierre van Hooijdonk, a second division striker. He's a good penalty kick taker though, and that's proven by blasting it in the top left. Leonardo would take their next penalty. Could he score? He does. He goes over Van der Sar, and this is turning out to be a very long penalty shootout. Next up is Philip Cocu. He scored a couple of important goals and a really important penalty too. That is absolutely brilliant. Porto's midfielder Doriva next. Only 11 caps for Brazil so far, but that is one of the best penalties of the lot. And that means Hector Davids has to score. I don't like being the second taker, but we are handling the pressure so well. Top corner, beautiful stuff. We're on to the defenders now. 1968 born Cruz, a centre-back for Milan, hits the post. Oh my god. All of the pressure is on us now. If we score this, we have won. If they save it, they're still in this game. It's going to be Reisiger, our right back. He doesn't get the pressure bar right, and also it's a brilliant save from Taffarel. Oh god, I don't even know what the score is at this time, but goalkeepers are taking them. Taffarel scores his, meaning it's probably Van der Sar up next. Here he is, our goalkeeper. He saved us so many times. Oh, and that is the best penalty of the entire shootout. And we're back round to Ronaldo. R9. Van der Sar says you're going that way, and he actually goes that way. He calls the bluff, and that means we have a good penalty taker with a chance to win it. Clarence Seedorf. Oh, all of the pressure is on him. He's only in his early 20s, but he can win the World Cup. And he does. Clarence Seedorf is the hero of the Netherlands. Finally, the Netherlands win their first World Cup in 1998. The team with the Van der Kerkhoffs and Cruyff and Rinus Michels and all of those could not win this tournament. But the team with Davids, Cocu and Seedorf, with Van Hooijdonk winning headers for Kluivert and Bergkamp. Even if you only know the Zidane headbutt in the final, you know this is an iconic tournament. And there's a chance we even get to use Zidane. But let's find out what team we're going to use. We have Germany, Argentina, Italy, Ukraine, England, Portugal, Brazil and France on the wheel. Very iconic, and whoever it lands on will play as. So, it's going to be Ukraine. And that's not as bad as it might sound in 2026, because this was a team that had Andrei Shevchenko and players like Voronin and Chigrinsky that played at an elite level. We also have a very tough group with Spain, Saudi Arabia and the Czech Republic. But rather than look at the team, I think we need to go straight into the first match against Spain. We have to do this because some pretty bad stuff has happened to my footage. This is as good as I can recover it, and you can see that it's probably not good enough for my standards as a YouTuber. Check out the timestamp that's on screen right now if you want to skip through all of the corrupted footage, because it does get better at the end of the video. But basically, we got pummeled by Spain, as you would probably expect. That was until the last 20 minutes where we turned into demons. Our first goal of the comeback has been fully corrupted. I can't include it, but our second was this magnificent header from our talisman. Shevchenko had arrived in Germany. Game 2 was also hilariously disappointing. This time we went 2-0 down to Saudi Arabia, but there was no comeback. We lost to Saudi Arabia, meaning we had to win our last game. And all the footage of that match is fully gone. It's annoying, but we did lose it anyway. We then span the wheel again. This time we got prime golden generation England. Amazing stuff and exactly who I wanted to use. But sadly, again, the group stages are almost entirely corrupt. I am really sorry about that, but from the knockout round onwards, all of the footage is back to normal and the video goes back to normal. So we start out against Paraguay with England, and this time we scored just before half time. Although there's only this one still frame of proof of a replay that the goal did go in. In the second half, we were holding on, and that's where this footage kind of starts to come back. Paraguay were surprisingly good, and in the very last minute, they scored a header, but thankfully, the assistant referee said it was offside. That would have been an embarrassing first match against Paraguay, but with a win, we go straight to the top of our group. Next up was a game against Trinidad and Tobago, an awful team from the Caribbean. They have a few players that you might know from playing in the Premier League, like Kenwyne Jones and Shaka Hislop, and it didn't take long for us to score. Wayne Rooney would swaz one past Hislop, and it was 1-0 within the first 10 minutes. But annoyingly, Kenwyne Jones would score an early equalising reply, and in the 60th minute he would score a second. We would actually go on to lose to Trinidad and Tobago with England's golden generation. So the third group stage was very important, and we did actually fully lose that one too. It's sad because I remember Peter Crouch put in a world-class performance. And then we go into the final corrupted match of this gameplay. It was Germany in the round of 16. This corruption hurts me the most. We had fought Germany for 90 minutes, so many chances and so many nearly moments. We dragged them into extra time and somehow beat the Germans with a last-minute goal. I have absolutely no proof of this, but now you can see we're in the quarterfinals and we can start making the video normal with real footage, and I don't have to explain what happened. Like I said, thank you for sticking with me and your understanding of the weird explanations of what actually happened, and I promise next time I won't accidentally delete my gameplay footage the day before I decide to edit a video. But that's 4 minutes in, so let's get back to actually watching the matches, whereas England against Netherlands in the quarter-final. We've decided to go with the same team that got us through the final group stage game and that game against Germany, with Rooney and Crouch up front, Owen dropped to the bench, and going back from the 4-3-3 we used for the first two games to the 4-4-2 that England traditionally like to use. Lampard and Gerrard did work well as a combination against Germany. Let's hope that they can do it against the Netherlands too. We have Cole on one wing and we have Beckham on the other, and he's won us a free kick within the first 5 minutes. And that was so close to being trademark David Beckham. The Netherlands have a dangerous side themselves. Wesley Sneijder providing chances to Ruud van Nistelrooy, Robin van Persie and Arjen Robben, with Ryan Babel being a threat against Gary Neville's lack of pace on the other wing. Speaking of lack of pace, Crouch can't quite get the ball past Johnny Heitinger, and Van der Sar comfortably collects it. With all the talent in this squad, we are kind of relying on the big man, Peter Crouch, on the ball here to actually provide something for us. But yeah, his touch might be good for a big man, but his passing not that great. It's been a pretty miserable first half for both teams, not many chances, and the chances that have fallen for us have mostly fallen for Peter Crouch. Wayne Rooney only really involved with us when we try and press a little bit and try and get him to win the ball back. We've had really good work rate. Our defence has been on top of the Netherlands attack, but honestly, going forwards, we have no fluidity at all. Ferdinand kicks the ball away, it's half time, and that means it's time to make a change. I don't know if the fans are going to like this, but Michael Owen is going to come on to replace Wayne Rooney, and hopefully Michael Owen can have some kind of impact on this game. Beckham down the right, chips it, and Owen is actually going to get there. He gets a good touch. Can we get the cross in? Oh no, he's absolutely taken him out, and it's a red card. Definitely not the impact that we wanted him to have. We're down to 10 men, and we've got about 25 minutes to try and hold on. We've got Peter Crouch leading the line by himself, and this is all about the defence now. Van Nistelrooy's ball comes across, Rio misses it, Cole doesn't react, and Robben slots it past Paul Robinson. It's a really nice ball in, it's a really nice finish too, but questionable at best from Rio, and even worse from Ashley Cole. We've got to react straight away. Cole dribbles round one. Can he cut back? He can. He's got a couple of options. One of them's Beckham. And what a finish! He let it roll across his body and finessed it far post. And out of nowhere, England have finally scored. David Beckham putting the nation on his shoulders. His second goal of the tournament so far, and probably the most important one of his career, or at least since Greece 2001. Crouch lofts it to Beckham, and you'd probably want them to be the other way around. And Crouch is going to get another chance to cross this one in. It's going to Lampard this time, and he can't win the header. And I think that's going to be the end. Yes, that's 90 minutes done, and we're going to extra time. We're going to have to try and get Crouch to stay in the middle. No more drifting out wide, Peter. And we'll try and get a few legs around him with Walcott and Hargreaves coming on. One to be box to box, one to be pure pace out on the wing. And it's all pressure now on a 16-year-old Theo Walcott who made it into the squad at the last minute. Neville out to David Beckham. Can we hit it? We can. And it's saved by Van der Sar. Really good chance for England. There's a gap here for Netherlands, but I think he's offside. He is, but good defending from Rio Ferdinand either way. And England have just 5 minutes to hold on, and then they're going to penalties. But it's Van Nistelrooy, and he's volleyed it past Robinson. Oh my God, we've got 5 minutes to score. Ruud van Nistelrooy, the man that's playing in England, has scored against us. Beckham, has he got one more Hail Mary in him? It's a good cross, and Crouch is nowhere near it. There's 1 minute to go. The Netherlands don't time waste. Goes to Terry, he loses it to Neville. We try and get it forwards. Gerrard, we've got Hargreaves, but we're going to go direct to Crouch. And Rio Ferdinand can't get on the end of it either. And we're out of the World Cup. We have no choice now. We have to spin the wheel for a third time. The 2006 World Cup is proving to be the most difficult one for us to win. We've only taken 2 tries on every other tournament. And this time, the wheel gives us Italy. They might not have qualified in 2026, but in 2006, this is an elite team that can defend like no other team in the tournament. We have Cannavaro and Nesta at the back with Zambrotta. We have De Rossi, Gattuso and Pirlo as potential holding midfielders. We have Buffon, who's the best keeper in the world in 2006. We've got Luca Toni, we've got Del Piero, we've got Inzaghi, and we have Totti. And rather than playing the group stage for the third time in this video, I decided we're just going to skip to the round of 16. We got a draw against Ghana, we beat the USA 3-1, and we beat the Czech Republic 1-0. And that gives us a tie against Australia in the round of 16. If we win this, we're already straight away into the quarterfinals, and I think we have a really good chance of beating Australia. This is a prime Australia as well. It seemed like so many nations had their golden generations at the same time, but Viduka, Kuhl and Cahill are all in this team. Even Bresciano and Schwarzer are good Premier League level players. We're going to go defensive like we did in all 3 of the group stage games as well, and we're just going to try and not concede a goal. By going defensive, we aren't parking the bus. We want defensive possession on the Australian box. And that is what we managed to do for most of the first half. Perotta chipped one to De Rossi, who'd broken from defensive midfield, and that's probably the best goal we've scored by any player in this series so far. A pure volley, the sweetest strike Daniele De Rossi's probably ever hit, and we go 1-0 up against Australia. It is pure dominance in the first half. Totti can wriggle away from his 3 markers basically whenever he wants, and if Australia ever dare to attack, Buffon is there, Nesta's there, Cannavaro's there, or Pirlo is there to intercept. I can't believe it's taken us this long to talk about Andrea Pirlo, because not only is his passing unreal, his work rate, his defensive capabilities and his positioning are all elite. Not only is he a brilliant playmaker, but he knows how to position himself on the attack, and when he won the ball back here, I thought he'd probably put us 2-0 up, but really, one of those chances should have gone in. We were already considering resting some of our better players for the last 10 minutes, but when Totti went down holding his knee, we knew that it was time to make some changes. How can you complain about bringing on Del Piero and Inzaghi? These are 2 of the best attackers of all time. And Inzaghi proved his worth by beating Popovic, going one-on-one, and coolly and calmly slotting it in to get us the 2-0 win. A beautiful performance from Italy. We went into this game expecting a clean sheet, but not only that, we stopped Australia having a single shot on target. We were ruthless, and we were everything this Italian national team wants to be. We won every tackle, every header, and that got us through to the quarterfinals, where we'd have to be even better. Because this time, we were playing against France. Of course, in 2006, this was actually the final. It's about as hyped as a match can be. Two local rivals. You've got Pirlo and Totti, Cannavaro and Nesta against Henry and Zidane, Vieira and Ribéry. There are so many good players on the pitch, and yet again, we're going for the exact same strategy. We're going to go defensive from minute one, try and frustrate France and hope one of our big men off the bench can come on and make an impact. It's a nervous match because we don't want to go back to that wheel for a fourth time. We need to try and hold on for those first 60 minutes and see what we can do. It felt like France were ready to pounce on any mistake. Henry into Zidane, he outpaced Nesta and the ball was so close to being tapped in by Thierry Henry. And really, the state of the first half an hour was just defend every single France attack. Thankfully, we had Cannavaro, who is the master at that, beating Henry to the ball and clearing it downfield. 20 minutes in, Henry would have another chance. He would try and get past Pirlo, but our midfield was just as solid. Perotta, a defensive midfielder who's playing on the left, would then get the ball forwards into Totti, and that's kind of where our strategy broke down. We didn't have the pace out wide, we were relying on Camoranesi to get forwards, so instead what we had to do was just keep the ball, recycle it, and see if we could get it to Pirlo. He would get on the ball, and now you could see our team had flooded forwards even though we were on a defensive strategy. This is exactly what we wanted to happen. Inzaghi into De Rossi, and that could easily have been a goal, and Totti couldn't quite get the rebound either. Half an hour gone and our strategy was killing France. We had so many good defenders that we could just leave them 4-on-1 up front. That meant our midfielders were like a safety blanket. Get through those, you have 3 of the best defenders of all time behind you. And we actually killed France so hard they hadn't had a shot. Even Australia had a shot in the round of 16 game, so we knew we had a decent chance of continuing this. Totti, can he do something special? He hasn't done yet in this tournament and is blocked again by France. But we kept making chances. We knew what we had at the back was solid enough to stop France. Nesta getting the block in Henry and then winning it off Ribéry as well. We have the patience and calmness to just sort of stay on the ball and let our midfielders get into position. And it seems like that is what is keeping us in the match. That and some little tactical fouls. De Rossi couldn't quite get one in on Zidane there, but thankfully Zambrotta would cover across to help us out. On the counter, yet again, we decided to be patient. Pirlo would take a couple of touches. It was into Totti's feet, first time shot, and we were wishing that had found the top corner. We're going to do similar changes to last time. We're going to bring Del Piero on behind the striker. We're so lacking in options on the left, we decided to put Grosso there, our usual left back, and then put a right back at left back. It's adding another defender onto the pitch, which is great for us, but there are definitely question marks over Fabio Grosso's output as an offensive winger. Eventually, the ball would get played out to him. He had Del Piero in the middle and produced one of the worst crosses that the tournament has ever seen. Maybe Grosso at left mid is not the idea. Inzaghi couldn't quite outpace his defender, but he was close. And then we went back into possession mode. Camoranesi into Pirlo. We've got Del Piero. We've got a man overlapped, and it's Grosso. It's a terrible shot, but he gets the header. And we've gone ahead with Fabio Grosso. I can't believe that move has paid off. The giant left back playing on the left mid has won the header that has put us ahead against the favourites France. And now we only have 10 minutes to try and hold on. Being defensive isn't good enough. We need to go full park the bus, and France actually give us the ball back, and that gives us the chance to pounce. We've got Perotta, he's got Zambrotta and Camoranesi alongside him. He goes to Pirlo, who somehow gets so close to winning a couple of penalties that would have killed the game off. France go for one last Hail Mary, and it rolls off the pitch. And now we get to look at that goal again. You've got to say, the finish is awful, straight at Bartez's feet, but we get so lucky that he has the power and the decision making to get the header right. We've got just seconds to hold on. Zidane attacks, we nail him, and the referee doesn't even want to let them take the free kick. We have got that 1-0 win, and we're through into the semi-finals with the best team in the tournament already knocked out. There are some good teams in the tournament still. Brazil, Netherlands, England and Spain. And we get drawn against the Netherlands, the team that knocked us out when we were still managing as England. I have a lot more faith in this team than I do England's so-called golden generation. I know the Netherlands don't have the best defence. They're all about attack, and their attack is nowhere near as good as our defence. Basically, a clean sheet means we're going to win this match. So it's all about Cannavaro against Van Persie. Who is going to be the man that changes history in the semi-final of the 2006 World Cup? This is a match with a lot of history. Just 6 years earlier in the Euro 2000 semi-final, Italy would go down to 10 men. Buffon would save 2 penalties in normal time, and then we would go on to win the penalty shootout and make it to the Euros final, where we would play against France and lose. In the 1978 World Cup, again, it was Netherlands who beat Italy to get into the final. But this match was not going to be a classic like one of those. While we did hit the crossbar just before half time, after 45 minutes, 0-0 was a fair enough result. The only dangerous thing was that Schneider was consistently getting away from Daniele De Rossi, but other than that, we knew when to bring them down. Persistent fouling is something that seems to work no matter if you're 1960s football or 2010s football. It's just something that seems to really bother the Netherlands. It might have bothered them, but it's not winning us the game, so let's make some changes. Luca Toni can come on up front, the big target man striker. It seemed like Netherlands thought they could win this match in normal time, so bringing on a target man gives us the out ball where maybe he can get in behind. Van der Sar into Heitinger, and we kind of expected that turn. Luca Toni then chips Van der Sar, and we've got ahead against the Netherlands out of absolutely nowhere. One of the jammiest goals, and our substitute yet again, almost seconds after he came on, has paid off our decision. And can we hold on for the next 10 minutes? Dirk Kuyt, Nesta wins it. Van Persie's volley just misses the target. Dirk Kuyt again, and Nesta wins it again. Back to Buffon, seconds to go. Perotta into Pirlo. Ref doesn't even give us time to hoof it away. That is it. We are into the World Cup final, and it's all because of Luca Toni. He telegraphed that turn, and then the chip shot was perfect to beat the goalkeeper. But then it was time to play the golden generation. We've already managed England. We know all about their team, and I'm sad to say you didn't get to see much of our journey with them. But believe me, it was not a very good experience. England are playing a 4-4-2. England have had a good journey to the final. 5-1 against Costa Rica, 4-1 against Portugal, 2-1 against Spain, and that's all down to one man, Joe Cole. With 3 goals in his last 3 games, he is the form man in the tournament, and they have lined up slightly different to how we were playing. Rooney and Owen up front in a 4-4-2. Gerrard and Lampard actually working in the middle, and at the back, Sol Campbell playing next to John Terry. Maybe that was our big flaw. We were expecting the 4-4-2. That's why we've gone De Rossi, Gattuso and Pirlo in the middle. We can dominate that midfield. Pirlo was the attacking midfielder into Luca Toni, and it was a great save from David James. We already had proof that Pirlo as the attacking midfielder looked like it could work. But we also saw how Gerrard and Lampard would work too. Lampard making the runs forward, Gerrard being the deep playmaker. Lampard's cross would come across, and Rooney would actually win the header, but it would go over the bar. Again, Gerrard being instrumental, dictating the play from deep. He would find Owen. What a run that is from Lampard. He chips it up and pokes it over Buffon's head, and we are behind in the final. Are England finally going to do it? Beckham's cross. Lampard could have got a second. Rooney back out to Beckham on the corner flag. It's a great ball in, and finally Buffon has some kind of authority over his box. But do we have a chance to counter-attack? Gattuso into Toni, out to Cameronesi. It's a poor ball, and we do have a couple of England players nearby. One of them's Gerrard, and he has bullied us. That is an absolute key interception. Lampard, Beckham, Lampard. That looked like it hit a hand, but the referee's not giving it. We can't get it up to Toni, and we're going to have to make changes at half-time. Pirlo as the attacking midfielder has been fine, but we need someone like Totti or Del Piero behind Luca Toni. Let's just hope that we can find that goal in the second half so we don't have to do all of this all over again. It's now been about an hour since England scored the goal. In the 70th minute, we decide to go for it. Ultra attacking, sending Cannavaro up front. But Gilardino, he beats Ashley Cole. Can he get around Gerrard? He can. Can he get the shot away? He decides to go around Lampard as well, and Steven Gerrard is there yet again. We've now only got 15 minutes. Del Piero gets lucky with his bounce, but Gerrard intercepts once more. This is really turning out to be the Steven Gerrard final. He has dominated us in every aspect. England bring on Peter Crouch, but we're the ones going long. Even when we're offside, we can't beat David James, and we're really running out of time. Walcott into Gerrard, and finally, Pirlo beats him for some physicality. De Rossi We've got a couple of runners alongside us. Are we going to play it out wide to Grosso? Can he get the ball right? This time he can. Perotta's there. He couldn't from the left. And that is the equaliser with just 5 minutes of normal time to go. A beautiful volley straight through Sol Campbell's legs. And now we can go back to being defensive. That was such a stressful bit of time, but now we go back to playing how we've played throughout the rest of the tournament. Unless we can counter here, but Cole brings us down cynically. There was definitely a couple of covering defenders, but the referee doesn't think so. It's a red card, and we have got very lucky there. Before we even get into extra time, we have the chance for one last attack. Or maybe we don't, but still, we'll take this. 10-man England against 11-man Italy. Player for player, we are a better team. Now we just have to make the most of it. Pirlo with a raking ball forwards into Perotta. Has Beckham got the pace and the stamina to get back? He has, but Perotta wins it into Del Piero. He beats his man one-on-one. And oh, it's a great block from Neville and from David James. Del Piero recycles it. Pirlo, we've got a runner. It's Perotta. He'd already scored one and so close to getting a second. We're in the last few seconds of extra time and England will not want a penalty shootout. Maybe they won't get one. Inzaghi into Pirlo, one-on-one. It's another absolutely unreal save from David James. Campbell doesn't clear it. And England are going to have to face a penalty shootout if they're going to get their first World Cup. Of course, in 1966, it was actually West Germany that won thanks to Franz Beckenbauer's leaping header. But penalties it is going to be, and it's a very even set of penalty takers. It is so unclear to say who is going to win this one. Gilardino, the striker playing on the right, steps up and scores our first one. David James nowhere to be found. Lampard, Chelsea's penalty taker, proved why he's their first choice into the roof of the net. Inzaghi is next, a good striker of the ball, and that was proven in his penalties. Beckham, hero of the nation, gets his penalty saved by Buffon. Brilliant stuff. To go ahead, it's the man that equalised, Perotta. He goes for power, but David James is more than able to save it. Back to being 2-1. Gerrard stutters, but we go the right way anyway. It's a choke from England's two best players. Pirlo next. Surely he's going to score. He's got a good take on him. He Panenkas it over David James, and that's beautiful. The pressure of England is on Michael Owen. Is he going to go for power or placement? He goes for power and hits the post, and Italy have done it. Of course they have. It was England in a final penalty shootout against Italy. Where have I seen that before? They scored too early, Italy would equalise and go on to win on penalties. It's not coming home, it's going Rome. And thanks to Cannavaro, Nesta, Del Piero, Totti, Pirlo, De Rossi, from group stage to final, this team was so solid, so defensive, and one of my favourite teams of all time. It takes me back to playing PES 6 with my brother, where I'd always be Italy and he would be Brazil or whatever. Attack versus defence. I love it. We played 66, then 78, then we played 86, 98, 2006, and now we are in 2014. You picked this tournament over 2010 and 2018, and I can see why, because we have Brazil, Colombia, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Costa Rica, Argentina, and Belgium are all options on our wheel as quarterfinalists in 2014. There are some very iconic teams in there, and it looks like we're going to be getting one because we have got Colombia as our first team. This was the surprise package of the tournament, and it was only Brazil at home that would go on to knock them out before Brazil, of course, would lose 7-1 in the semi-final. The big reason they were so good was this man, James Rodriguez, who is currently playing for Monaco in the summer of 2014. He was so good he got that big move to Real Madrid, but he wasn't the only one in this team that went on to better things. Jackson Martinez up front was really good. Cuadrado is a bit of a FIFA legend. Zuniga, Zapata, Yepes, Almero. We haven't even mentioned Freddy Guarin, who is one of the best centre mids in FIFA history. So I am so excited to try this team out. We're going for a 4-4-2 with two defensive midfielders because that kind of lets us get Rodriguez into the middle as our playmaker. And yes, we will definitely be giving Ibarbo a couple of minutes here and there if you're excited to see him too. Our first game of the tournament is going to be against Greece, who are definitely not one of the favourites to get out of the group. We should definitely be beating them if we want to finish first and get the easier draw in the round of 16 knockout round. So I think it's time to go straight into our first match. We're starting off with a game in one of the most oppressive environments that the World Cup has ever played in, deep in the Amazon rainforest in Manaus. There is apparently a pretty big city in the middle of the jungle, and hopefully this is a better atmosphere for Colombia to play in than Greece. You would assume it would be. We're going into the first game of the tournament with 2 goals. Of course, first is to win the match, but second of all is to prove that this formation can work, with James Rodriguez drifting around on the left and our 2 defensive midfielders basically blocking everything that Greece want to do through the middle. There is a danger that it turns into a very negative formation very quickly, and I think that's kind of what happened in the first half. We didn't really produce anything, but we fully stopped Greece from producing anything either. We were so close to intercepting the goalkeeper's pass, and they were just relying on cross after cross into Lazaros and Samaras, but thankfully we were just about able to defend those with a combination of Yepes and Guarin. It was nearly half time, and we still hadn't really got James Rodriguez in the game. So Martinez would win 2 headers, James would volley it, and it would hit the crossbar so close to scoring at the perfect time just before the half-time whistle. But that came and the referee blew, and it was 0-0 half-time in our first match. The second half had to be better. We had to be more attacking, and Baka nearly proved us right within the first 5 minutes. Knowing our defensive base was pretty solid, we started pressing higher. Guarin would win it, Baka would pull it across, and Martinez would score our first goal of the 2014 World Cup. A nice volley straight over the goalkeeper, across from where he came from. Textbook stuff from Jackson Martinez. But will he be able to score a second almost straight away? We cut inside, we tried to pull it back across to Baka. He was so close to returning the favour and giving him an assist after just getting one, but they just about defended it. It would have been so easy for Colombia to just sit on the 1-goal lead and just accept the win, but we kept trying to push and try and get that second goal that would see us win the match more comfortably. Greece threw their defenders forwards, which left us a massive amounts of space. Ramos tried to find Ibarbo, but that first touch is textbook Ibarbo in real life. And that was basically it. There was just a few seconds left. Sanchez would try and get it out to James Rodriguez, intercepted, and the referee would call it there. We had won 1-0, we were top of our group, and we were in a really nice position to set ourselves up to try and match what Colombia did in real life. There's definitely still work we can do going into the second match. Like, we have to get Rodriguez into the game more. He made 9 of his 9 passes, and most of them were key passes too. And next up is the Ivory Coast. Somehow they've never actually made it out of the group stage, and this is the last time they're going to have their golden era all in one place. We do have to worry about Yaya Toure and Didier Drogba and Gervinho as well, but we knew our team could defend, so we didn't make a single change going into our second game of the tournament. I mean, if we win this one, we can fully rotate for the third game, who is against Japan, I'm pretty sure, and then we can be fully fit, ready for the knockout stages. What we really didn't want was a physical match with lots of yellow cards and lots of heavy tackles going in, and that's exactly what we got. It was end to end. It was more like an English FA Cup game than a World Cup match. In the first 20 minutes, Kalou should have scored a header, and Martinez should definitely have done better with his chance right there. It was 2 of the fastest teams in the tournament, and you could absolutely tell, because when one team would get the ball, it would be 2 or 3 passes, and they'd be at the byline putting a cross in, and the Ivory Coast loved putting crosses in. And to be honest, who can blame them, because they had Didier Drogba playing as the target man. We were more technically gifted than the Ivory Coast. Could we score the free kick? Well, in a way, yes we could. Jackson Martinez beat their goalkeeper and slots it into an empty net. That is a really lucky goal, but it's a really nice touch to get around the goalkeeper, and you have to finish it once you're there. So 2 goals in 2 games for Martinez, and maybe he's going to be on track for the golden boot. Ivory Coast tried to respond. First, Cheick Tioté hitting the post, and then Yaya Toure poking it, but Ospina was not going to be beaten today. They still have so much threat though. Tioté would beat 2. He's got Yaya Toure bombing through the middle. Can he get the cross in? He does. Toure meets it and can't hit the target. We were so lucky to still be 1-0 up. Really, it should be level, or maybe we should even be behind. Guarin tried to hit a typical Guarin shot, nothing doing. And then it was time to make a couple of changes to try and see out the win. Arias and Aguilar come on in the midfield, and we also bring Ibarbo on for Cuadrado on the right wing. He's got a bit of pace, but he hasn't really got any technique. So if there's ever a chance for a counter-attack, maybe Ibarbo's the man. And here's his chance. Can he beat Boca? No, he can't. Cleared out for a throw-in, and Ibarbo can't quite get in. That was it. We had one last free kick, which this time unfortunately didn't get a lucky rebound towards one of our strikers. And as we time wasted, or guess their goalkeeper time wasted, that was going to be it. We have won 2 out of 2. We know we're going to be at least joint top of our group. We've already qualified because there's no way that we can get knocked out. And that is perfect for us. It means we can go into the next game, we can rest players like James Rodriguez. We're not going to, but we could if we really wanted to. Japan have actually won both of their games, they have better goal difference, and we want to get the win. So we're going to start both Martinez and Rodriguez. We're going to play Ramos through the middle, we're going to play Quintero on the right rather than Cuadrado, and we're just going to hope that we can somehow see off Japan. Early chance for Japan, and we have not seen them off. For the rest of the game, it was just basically attack versus defend. Sanchez probably with our best chance of the first half an hour. We nearly scored a diving header, but the goalkeeper was more than capable of stopping that one. And Japan were just more than capable of stopping basically anything. The only shot we actually managed to get in was this Cuadrado one that was offside by an absolute mile. And that was going to be it. Japan were just able to see the ball out in the corner. We just could not do anything about it. They were so strong and so tall, and Yepes really risked a red card there. And that was it. We'd lost 1-0. We'd finished with 6 points from our 2 games, Japan topping the table, and that meant we were probably going to play a pretty good team. It could have been America, it could have been Russia or Switzerland or Nigeria. Instead, we get Italy, who are one of the favourites for the tournament and are better than us in every single position. So, back to full strength. Bacca and Martinez at front, Rodriguez on the left, and back to having Cuadrado on the right. Italy might not be as good as in 2006 when we used them, but they still have a very, very good team. Pirlo might be in his 30s, but he's still at his prime, and Buffon's nearly 40, and he is also still at his prime. However, Barzagli and Chiellini both struggle with pace, and Martinez has so much that he nearly opened the scoring in the first 10 minutes. Chiellini would get the clearance. Just like in the Ivory Coast game where they had Tiote running down the wing, for some reason Italy were playing Daniele De Rossi there. It's safe to say he's not really David Beckham when it comes to the crosses. But could Cuadrado get a good one in? He could, but Buffon would claim it. And it was looking like this was going to be a classic Italy 0-0 performance. I don't know if it's the formation or the players we picked or the fact that we're so much quicker than Italy, but we were a lot more even with them than I thought we were going to be. They would get chances, but we would never really be in that much danger. Most of their threat came from a technical dribbler getting on the ball, beating a couple of players and then getting a shot away. A game against Italy's never going to be an open match, but we just really couldn't do anything either. James Rodrigo, Freddie Guarin, Cuadrado were just taking long shots from the edge of the box. And then everything changed. It was Pirlo breaking from midfield that was going to break our hearts. We had been nowhere near scoring, and now we had 25 minutes to try everything we could. We really did try everything we could. We even brought on Victor Ibarbo, but there was just nothing we could do. When we lost the ball to Verratti in the 90th minute, he ran to the corner flag again, and even though we took him out, that's where they would keep the ball. That was it. It was game over. It was run over. And we were going back to the wheel. Before we did that, we wanted to see who would win, and it was Germany this time. Who knows, maybe we'll get Germany on the spin and go on to do a back-to-back with them. Well, not quite. It was a neighbouring country with the same 3 colours on their flags. This time, we were going to be playing as Belgium, and this is quite an interesting one. Their team is very similar to the team that they have in 2026, which is not something a lot of the teams in this World Cup can say. They've still got Lukaku, De Bruyne and Courtois as their 3 best players all these years later. And to be honest, Eden Hazard is only 35 years old in 2026, so there's no reason that he couldn't also have featured at this World Cup if he had just stayed a little bit fitter. But we're deciding to change things up. Whereas last time we played a defensive style, this time we're going full possession. The goal is to try and pass the ball around, find a space, get Lukaku to finish it. And I think that's pretty similar to how Belgium actually played at this tournament. And we're starting off with a game against Algeria. Just like in the first game when we were Colombia manager, we went into this one with 2 goals. Number 1, to get the win. Number 2, to see if our tactic would work. It's very different to how we were playing before. The first half was not a great sign of what was to come though. It seemed like Algeria could attack us from wherever they wanted, but especially down the fullback positions. On one side we had Jan Vertonghen, who is not the quickest centre-back. On the other one we have Alderweireld, who is again not a very fast centre-back. Vermaelen and company were also not very fast centre-backs in 2014. So if we're going to struggle with anything, it's going to be against a fast team. And Algeria didn't even really need to be that quick. Look how much space they got. There was an open man in the middle, and Slimani was going to tuck that one away 10 times out of 10. We were behind, and honestly I wasn't feeling very optimistic for this team. There was just not enough pace for us to do anything against any kind of counterattack, and it just seemed like we were getting murdered on every single attack. We resorted to just bringing people down to stop them. Our own counterattacks would always fizzle out, but that was fine because we wanted to play possession. But the problem is, we couldn't get enough men forwards because they took too long to get there that De Bruyne basically never had a passing option on. Hazard's shot went out for a corner, our last chance of the game to get something out of this match. It would come in. The goalkeeper Courtois was up, but we couldn't even win the header with 5 defenders and a 6'7" goalkeeper in the middle. We'd lost 1-0 to Algeria, and I was really not feeling very confident about the rest of this run. But it's fine, because we've only got Russia and South Korea in our group. We just have to beat 2 of them, and then we go through in at least second place, where knockout football is a totally different beast. And we were actually playing a lot better against Russia. De Bruyne and Hazard were finally linking up. The possession style of play was working so much better, and it looked like Russia were in real danger of taking a beating. We were making chances whenever we wanted. Lukaku with a nice turn, and the shot not finding the target. But then it was time to see something very familiar. A counter-attack down the wing where Vertonghen didn't have enough pace to cover it. They would get the cross in, and proof that even against Russia, we were in danger of conceding basically every time we lost the ball. So that was it, half time, and our second half in this match was one of the most important that we've had in this entire series. If things don't improve, then we are in real danger of having a third spin for the second video in a row. We have the talent to score a goal. We just need De Bruyne to put one on a plate for Lukaku, or Hazard to beat 2 or 3 men and slot one in the far corner. But it's just not happening. Witsel down the left, into De Bruyne. Can we score now? Surely! He gets it all wrong. And that was the best chance that we've had in either of our first 2 games. Can Vermaelen put a good cross into Lukaku? So close to finding his head, but so close just isn't good enough. We've got just a few seconds left now. We're just diving in. We're doing whatever we can. We've got the centre-backs going forwards for us, which is rare, but the chances just aren't falling right. That's it. A 0-0 against Russia, which puts all of the pressure on the final match. If it's even possible, we could already be out. We're looking at the table, we're not out. But if we win by 5 goals and Russia lose by 1 or 2, then we do technically overtake them for second place. So all we have to do is win 5-0 with a team that we're struggling to score a single goal with. How hard can it be, right? Well, we're going to play against South Korea. We're going to go full-on attack from minute 1. Centre-back forwards, and if things aren't working, then we have a plan to try and fix that at half-time. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully we can just score 5 goals in the first half, then we'll be happy. But South Korea are actually quite dangerous, and we're already putting last-ditch tackles in within the first 5 minutes. Thankfully, we haven't gone behind. If Korea even score 1, then it's pretty much game over. 20 minutes in, we haven't scored, but Lukaku tackles their goalkeeper. Is that a tap-in for Vermaelen? Well, it really should have been. Alderweireld into Vermaelen, into Morales, back to Vermaelen, and that's our first goal. And look who it is, it's the centre-back, not Lukaku at front. Just before half-time, Morales, hits the post. Fellaini's going to try and get it back in. It's an awful cross. De Bruyne keeps it alive, and it's Vermaelen again. We should have just played him up front from minute 1 because he is absolutely amazing on the volley. And the bad news is, Russia are winning. So it's time to break out the 1-3-6 formation. I mean, what can go wrong? We're going to keep Alderweireld and company back, and then just put everyone else up front. And it looked like it was going to work almost straight away. Hazard into the box, 3-0 after 49 minutes. If Russia just concede 2, then honestly, we're in a pretty good state to go through a second place. If we can just get 1 more. Vermaelen not quite got enough pace to beat the South Korean goalkeeper. Can we cross this to Lukaku? We try. It's cleared. Running out of time. We go desperate and they tumble to the ground. What little hope we had left has gone out of our bodies. Son stutters and then slots it in. It looks like we're on our way back to the wheel pretty soon. There's still time for us to get 1 last goal with Belgium. Fellaini into Hazard, and at least we managed to score with Eden Hazard. It would have been embarrassing to say we couldn't do that. Realistically, if Vermaelen had a little bit more pace, we could have possibly got 5 or 6. But the ask was just way too big, and especially when that penalty went in, you just knew we were not going to be able to do it. I'll spoil the final table right now and tell you Russia did win 1-0 in the end, so it wouldn't have mattered either way. We were out of the tournament, and it's time to spin again. Honestly, good riddance to Belgium. I really did not like using that team. But I think we're getting a team that I am going to really enjoy. Brazil in the Brazil World Cup. I think the only other time we've played as a host country in this series is when we had Argentina back in the 70s or 80s. Back then, we won it with Maradona, and this team looks like it is set up to be so much better than what we had with Belgium. We're not going to try and play defensive like we did with Colombia. We're not going to go for possession like we did with the Belgians. Instead, we're going to go for that typical Brazil, flair, free form, everyone can go wherever they want kind of style. Neymar cutting in from the left. We get Marcelo and Dani Alves both down the wings as wing backs on both sides, with Fernandinho dropping in to be a third defender alongside David Luiz and Thiago Silva. I mean, every single player that I've just mentioned there is a bit of a legend, and the only weak spot in this team is at striker. Again, we go into the first game of this tournament with 2 goals. The first one to win the match, the second one to see if our formation and tactic works. And it already felt like a totally different team to the Belgium squad, which of course it actually is. But despite having better players and arguably a better tactic, we actually had more yellow cards than shots on target in the first half of our first match with Brazil. The problem is that we just can't win the ball back from Croatia. They've got some very good technically gifted midfielders, and we've got players like Oscar and Ramirez trying to win the ball back, which isn't really working. To be fair, Croatia haven't had a single shot in that first half either, so if anything, we're defending better than we expected, but attacking much, much worse. Can Oscar do something drifting down the right into Fred? No, he can't, but Hulk's going to get a second chance, but he's not strong enough to get past the Croatian defender. Fernandinho into Oscar, and Hulk's on the run again. We're just going to hit this one. It goes over the goalkeeper and off the crossbar. That was a really nice effort from Hulk. So at least we're getting shots away in this second half. Rakitic, and that was so close to, I think, Mandzukic heading that one past Julio Cesar. Can Fred counterattack? He beats 1, maybe 2, and Vida is the man to stop it. The last minute, Neymar in the charge. Can he beat one more player? He can. Can he get a shot away? He can, but the shot is saved by Subasic, and that's going to be that. A 0-0 in our first match of the tournament. A pretty mediocre start, especially when you consider the form that we're on. While we won our first 2 with Colombia, then we lost our next 2. We got that 1 win when we went for it against South Korea with Belgium, and now we're going to need to get a 4th win of the episode. And I think Mexico are a team that we can beat. We're not playing at the Azteca, instead we are playing at Fortaleza on the north coast of Brazil. Now's the time to start playing a little bit better. Oscar trying to get it into Neymar, but he can't quite do it. Oscar down the left, cuts inside. Is he going to get a shot away? It's a good save from Ochoa. Oscar gets the corner in, and it's been all Oscar in this first half. Everything is just running through the attacking midfielder, and Neymar can't beat his Mexican marker. But Fred wins the ball back. He's got a couple, and he gives it to Hulk, who misses the target altogether. And we're still searching that first goal with Brazil. We're getting the shots away, you can't deny it, and we're actually having quite a lot of possession. Mexico just can't counter-attack. But we need to do better in this second half. We need to get the goal and win this match. Cesar gets it, rolls it out to Oscar, and he's been absolutely nailed by Peralta. I thought they were going to get away with that one. Marcelo, come on, we can't get another 0-0. What a pass that is, and a great touch from Fred. He was getting his shirt pulled. He's into the box, and he doesn't even hit the target. What a disappointment from Fred. Ramirez can't break through. Mexico defending well, and it looks like this is going to be a second 0-0 with Brazil. Oscar into Fred, and we were going to try and play Hulk through, but the ref had already blown his whistle. So that's it. We've started off the 2014 World Cup with 2 0-0 draws, possibly the least Brazil thing you can imagine. And yet again, we go into the final match of a group stage knowing we have to win, otherwise we're knocked out. And I think it's time to make some changes. Hernandez, another FIFA legend, just like Warren, can come in. Joe's going to be up front, Willian on the right, and Maicon at right back. Who knows? Dani Alves might have been the cause of our lack of goals. And we've also switched to the blue kit. Who knows? Maybe it was the weight of the Brazil yellow that was stopping us from scoring goals. Colombia are the team we're playing against. They've got Samuel Eto'o and Asu Akoto. They've got a couple of decent players, but nowhere near Brazil. On paper, this is a 2 or a 3-0 win. We just have to make sure we can score when we get the chances. We've gone a bit more aggressive on the press with Willian up front. He's got more pace than Hulk. And Asu Akoto's in trouble. Can Willian win it? Oh, he was so close. But Cameroon get away with it this time. Joe Out to Oscar. Neymar's gone inside, and that was apparently a foul. Okay. Marcelo crosses it in. And Joe is there, and he's just gone over the bar. I think Joe's performing a lot better than Fred so far. A lot of space for Maicon down the right. The Roma man. And he goes across to Neymar on the volley, and it's gone just wide. Oscar, that's a terrible run from Neymar, but Oscar gets it back. Luis Gustavo, he can't get it. Can he win the header? He can, but Neymar doesn't get on the end of it. Really good defending from Cameroon. Nkulu. Oh, Joe's stolen it. Surely, come on, Joe. 1-on-1. Oh, we just cannot score. Paulinho. Oh, and it's saved by Atanji. Alex Song, the Barcelona man, into Etu, the former Barcelona man, and that's going out for a throw-in. And that's half-time. We've played 5 halves of football and not scored a goal. Cross well defended by Cameroon, and I think we're just going to have to try and get it in the box. Willian, just flick it on. Hopefully someone can get there. And Maicon does. And Joe, we finally score with Brazil. It was a Maicon flick on to Joe in the box from a Willian long throw. The least Brazil goal you can possibly imagine. Willian with a great pass. Taken out. Come on, ref. Surely that's a red. It's a yellow for Nkulu, and he has been absolutely murdered by Willian this match. Neymar in the box, beats a man, shot saved by Atanji. Can Joe do anything about it? He tries to flick it up, no. Nkulu's there. Possibly shouldn't have even been on the pitch, and Cameroon survive. Come on, we really need that second goal to try and see this match out. Cameroon have a decent amount of pace, a lot of counter-attacking potential, and we did see it out. In the 90th minute, we had one more time to attack. Joe would beat his defender for pace. It seemed like he wasn't even trying. He would get into the box, cut back, he would win a penalty, and surely this was going to be 2-0. Football is all about streaks, so we decided to give the penalty to Neymar just so we can try and get him into a scoring streak. He's 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, of course. A penalty, he's going to Panenka it, and the goalie dives underneath it. With a 2-0 win, we would come second in our group stage, and we would be playing against Netherlands in the round of 16, the first knockout round. So they won their group, and they have a very good team. Who's their star man? None other than Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. Of course, if you've been a fan of this channel for a long time, we did an entire series with Klaas-Jan Huntelaar as our manager, so it's always good to see him. But they have Robben, they have Van Persie, they have Leroy Fer. All of the superstars are in this Netherlands team. But what we don't need to happen is that, when Neymar goes down holding his knee. Thankfully, I think it's just a bit of amateur theatrics, and Paul Verheer takes the yellow card, and Neymar is back up on his feet. Oscar with the roulette, tries to give it to Dani Alves, but it doesn't go through. Gustavo out to Hulk, Joe's in the middle, and Veltman just about defends it. It's a set piece, and we have a pretty small squad, but Hulk wins it. It's such a powerful header. It's such a great save or a block from someone in there. They keep it 0-0. We go for the long throw. It worked in the last match. Maybe it will in this one, but no. It's well defended by the Netherlands. Fer, he's got Schneider ahead of him, and he finds him. The ref decides to pull up the game, and Gustavo is down. He has been so much better than Fernandinho because he can win so many long ball headers in comparison. And that is really going to hurt us if he's out for a long time, which unfortunately it looks like he might be. Poor pass from Neymar into Schneider, into Huntelaar, and Cesar blocks it on the line. Verheer tries to get it back in, and it's another great save from Cesar. We are hanging on against the Netherlands without Gustavo. Verheer, he's got 2 to try and beat in the air, and he does. It goes to Huntelaar. Paulinho just stops it rolling through to Schneider. Corner comes in. Good catch from Cesar, but can we counter-attack? We can see Joe making a run, but we're going to go to Neymar instead. Now to Joe. We've got a couple of people ahead of us, but it worked in the last match. It's a good run, but 2 men diving in, and one of them stopping it. Dani Alves. He's got Hulk outside, a good turn. Can he cut inside and get the shot off? And he's been taken out by Blind. We're going to absolutely be whamming this. Come on, top corner. Neymar in Salvador. Runs up. It's gone miles over the bar. It looks like the Netherlands have decided we are there for the taking. They're leaving Bruno Martins Indy basically behind everyone else just to cover while sending a centre-back forwards. I mean, we're okay with that. It's going to leave a lot of space for us on the counter-attack. In fact, let's try and find Joe right now. He's in a battle with Veltman, but I think we've got the pace and the strength. Come on, Joe. He wins it. He controls it. He gets into the box. And his shot almost hits the corner flag. That is dreadful. If we had 3 subs, I think we'd take him off. But Willian and Hernandez are going to come on the right and in midfield. And hopefully we can win this before extra time. Oscar to Neymar, the man we want. He's chipped it towards Joe, but Blind just defends it. Neymar recycles it. Marcelo, come on, last chance saloon. Back to Neymar, cuts inside, but we just can't break down the Netherlands. The last minute of the game, Schneider attacking, and we just about intercepted. There it is, full time. We've got another 30 minutes to try and break down Netherlands for the first time, or we could be getting yet another 0-0 draw in our march to the final. Gotta say, I didn't recognise Arjen Robben with some hair, but chips it towards the goalkeeper, an easy save. We're getting down the wing with Willian. We cut inside, Vlaar got beaten. That could have been a penalty if we'd have just got caught. We're gonna have to settle for the corner. Neymar, we win the header, Blind off the line. That's as close as we've come. We've hit the crossbar and we've had it off the line. We go all out attack, but it's too late to really have an impact. It's a penalty shootout and we don't have many people who can really take one. This is a high pressure situation because if we lose this, we're going to have to start all over again. Dirk Kuyt steps up, hits the crossbar. That's the way we want to start it. We would have preferred a save, but we'll take a crossbar. Next up's Joe, our top scorer with 1 goal. And he scores in the shootout. Perfect penalty in the roof of the net. Schneider next. Hits the crossbar. But it counts. Interesting. Silva next. Good penalty. Arjen Robben with his left foot down the middle. We should have stood tall. We would have saved that one. Hernandez. 3rd penalty. 3rd goal. We're still ahead. Fur. Stutters. Goes left. We go right. High pressure on Neymar. Is he going to Panenka it? He goes low. Powerful down the left. Depay has to score this penalty and does. So all of the pressure is on our 5th taker. And it's David Luiz. He's going to go for power. It's David Luiz. And he blasted in the top right. And we have somehow gone through with another 0-0. Are we just going to end up winning on penalties every single round? Well, I'd take it if it meant we won this tournament. That is a great result. Netherlands are a very good team in 2014, but so are England. Maybe not at their peak from 2006 with the likes of Sturridge up front and Welbeck playing right wing. We're clearly the favourites. Our team is much better than England's, but really we do need to start scoring more goals. We're going to give Joe one last chance because we think he's got an okay shot of getting past Gary Cahill and Phil Jagielka, which is somehow England's back two. Glenn Johnson, Leighton Baines, Jordan Henderson, Danny Welbeck, Raheem Sterling and Milner on the wings. This is not a strong England side. And again, it's one that you would expect Brazil to beat. Lampard, Rooney and Gerrard are all rated slightly higher than you would have expected. And that's really where all of their threats going to come from. Gerrard nearly placed one in the top corner from about 30 metres out just before the 25th minute. I've got to be honest, for the rest of the first half, we were pretty awful. It was looking destined that we were going to go into another half-time at 0-0, unless we could do something down the right. Joe, he has space for Oscar, terrible pass, referee blows his whistle. For the 5th match in a row with Brazil, it's 0-0 at half-time, which basically means we have one half to beat England and knock them out. Neymar absolutely ruins the England defender and nearly gets past Phil Jagielka, who looked like he won the ball, and on the replay you'll see he definitely did win the ball. But Neymar goes down and we have the chance to score. We're going to Panenka it again, but we got the power all wrong. Joe Hart sees it go over his bar, Joe can't believe it, and I can't believe it. We have properly choked there. England really don't have much in the second half. Their old men all start to get tired, while Neymar starts putting on a bit of a show. Joe into Hulk, Hart saves it, and Ramirez can't score the rebound. 5 minutes to go. Gerrard into Rooney, hits the crossbar. That would have been iconic from Wayne Rooney. Now, just seconds to go. We hit it long towards our target man. It bounces out of play, and we're going to extra time again. Is it going to be another 0-0 penalty shootout, just like that Netherlands game? Well, we're going to really hope that it isn't. Ramirez, the Chelsea man, has Joe, the former Man City man, and he absolutely ruins Jordan Henderson, puts him on the floor. He gets around 2, pulls it back across for Ramirez, but he's not interested for some reason. Oscar recycles it, back to Ramirez, he's going to hit this. Rebound, header, goal, 1-0, Brazil looking like they could win this match. Out of nowhere, Ramirez with the flukiest goal, rebounding off Glenn Johnson, I think. And Ramirez will take that. I will take that. and now we just have to hold on. For the first time with Brazil, we decide to go onto ultra defensive to try and park the bus and see out the 1-0 win. Just 10 minutes to go. Cesar tries to give it to Joe, but England recycle it. We get another chance. 5 minutes to go now. A free kick from the edge of the box. Luiz is just going to blast this one, and Joe Hart is forced to make a big save. Seconds to go now, and Marcelo wins it. Their England man goes down, trying to get a free kick, but Joe plays it forwards into Marcelo. He's one-on-one. Is he going to cut back? He is. Gets the shot, gets the goal. 2-0. Brazil are definitely in the semi-final. England were a lot harder than I thought they were going to be to beat, but somehow we have managed to scrape a win in extra time. We are just 2 games away from home glory with Brazil in 2014. It's all going to come down to whoever we get in the semi-final. I see the options look like it's Spain, France and Argentina. We get Spain, who have beaten Croatia and Japan to get to the semi-final, which seems like much easier matches than the Netherlands and England. We know what it's like to play against top opposition. Maybe they don't. Maybe that's an advantage, combined with the home crowd, that means we can beat one of the best international teams of all time. This is a good Spain side. Piqué and Ramos at the back. Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, Silva and Pedro in the middle. Fernando Torres up front. Azpilicueta, Alba and Casillas. Every single one of those 11 players I've just mentioned is iconic, and that proves how hard this game is going to be. But we decided, why not go full Joga Bonito with it? Neymar's against Azpilicueta. That's a bit of a mismatch, so we decide to bust out the skills, bust out the pace whenever we can. Although, I have to say the extra flair maybe does go to Oscar's head. We decide to try and curl one, and that is one of the worst shots I think the World Cup has ever seen. Neymar would beat a man, put it through his legs, gives it to Fernandinho, and we finally score in the first half of a match. What a bit of play that was from Neymar, and Fernandinho breaking forwards from defensive midfield with a finish that Iniesta or David Silva would have been proud of. Lampard or Gerrard would have been proud of. Neymar down the wing into Fred. It's in. We've scored twice, but yeah, he was clearly a mile offside. What are we going to do then for the rest of this match? Are we going to defend, or are we going to try and get that second goal? Well, David Silva got a free header and Piqué made up our minds for us. We have to get the second goal if we're going to win this. Off the back of his head, that is a pure fluke. But at half time, yet again, we go in level. At least this time we have scored a goal. You have to say, it was pretty expected that Spain would hog the possession, but we've done pretty well to keep them to just a single shot. Now we just have to get another chance, and we have to finish it. Fred, into Neymar. Is this the chance? The finish looked good, but Casillas saved it with his feet. Just nothing's going our way. And now it's a race between the two Davids. Silva against Luiz, and Silva pulls it across, and it's Sergio Ramos up from centre-back, trying to finish us off. Another corner. This time it hits the crossbar. The rebound saved by Cesar. Really hard fought stuff, and Ramos looks devastated. Yet another corner. This time we intercept it. Ramirez into Fred. Can he get the ball? It looks like he can. It's a straight race between him and Jordi Alba. Alba, of course, wins it. But then Fred gets another chance. Are we through? Alba just about wrestles it off him to stop us getting through one-on-one. Fernandinho into Fred. Come on, it's like 4-on-2. This is a great chance. Fernandinho into Neymar. The finish, the goal, the last minute. And we are ahead in the semi-final. He tells the Spaniards to shush. He's got this. Neymar, the talisman, has put us ahead, and there's only seconds left to play. Well, there's no seconds left now. We have done it. Spain 1, Brazil 2. And in the final, we could either get France or Argentina. I know which team I would rather get, and it is them. Argentina, the big South American rivals of Brazil. 96 rated Messi. Lucas Biglia is a big weakness. They've got also a weakness at left back, so there's definitely a chance that we can go on to lift this trophy. But of course, we have to be wary of Lionel Messi. They've got Aguero as well and Di Maria. They have a lot of threats in their attack, but if we attack, we can get at them. They've got this far by beating Honduras, Russia and France. Two very bad teams, and then a team that aren't really that great in France either. So yet again, we know our tactic works against the best teams in the world. They don't. We've got the home crowd. They don't. Let's just go on to win this and get Brazil a historic trophy. Di Maria into Messi. We've tried going hard on them and it's not really worked. Messi still getting on the ball plenty. A corner. Di Maria into Messi. Di Maria back to Messi. And he's going to beat two players. Run into the box. Surely he beats another one. Oh, and if Maxi Rodriguez had just got better finishing, that could easily have been a goal. Messi was through there. We had to try and take the foul. And we'll take a yellow card because there was a real chance that could have been a red. Perez tries to get away from us. We dive in yet again. Di Maria beats two of our defenders, Silva and Luiz, and Aguero forcing a good save. It's been all Argentina in this first half, but finally we can counter-attack. Or maybe not. Rodriguez into Aguero. He's got Messi ahead of him. Is he going to use him? Of course he is. Messi 1-on-1. Brilliant save from Julio Cesar. And the rebound over the bar. This first half has been brutal. It has just been defending. It's just been this man, Lionel Messi, absolutely running against us. They've had 70% of the ball. They've stopped us having a shot altogether. This is nightmare stuff and not what Brazil want in their final against their biggest rivals. But can Neymar get away from his man? He can. He runs into the box. Their defenders step off him. He cuts inside and gets the finish right. In possibly what could be our last final, we've scored the best goal I think we've scored in any of the finals in this series. Cutting inside, beating the man at the last minute. And Neymar gets the finish right, cutting in from the left. He stepped up when he mattered. It might have missed that penalty against England, but scoring that goal more than makes up for it. And can Fred get us a second? If he beats one more man, he can. It's a beautiful ball through. But Oscar doesn't quite have the pace. He decides to give it to Hulk, and the pass is terrible. A real wasted counter-attack. Di Maria. Can they score from a corner? They can't. Brilliant defending. Of course, they're very attacking now. They've got two defenders left, but Neymar can't quite beat Marcos Rojo for pace. 10 minutes left in the final. Oscar gives it to Fred. He's got a couple of runners. One of them's Hulk. Can we somehow score here? Hulk's going to hit it. Oh, it could have dipped in, but it's going over the bar. Of course, we're going to spend the rest of the match defending as much as we can. We're officially parking the bus. Argentina with some of the best play I think I've ever seen in FIFA 16. Higuain gets beaten to the ball by Luiz when it really mattered. They can try keeping it in the air as much as they want. That's a great header from Ramirez. Can we counter-attack? Their goalkeeper's forward. Neymar, can he beat this one man? He can't, but Garay goes in for the foul, trying to cross the ball. Neymar wins as a free kick. And one kick, and I think we've done it. Brazil, watch it roll out. The crowd cheer, they think it's just a bad pass. But it's the kick that has won us the World Cup. Thiago Silva jumping around. In front of our own fans, we have avenged the 7-1 Germany game. They didn't make it out of the round of 16. Fernandinho is going to be the man shaking Infantino's hand, and Thiago Silva is going to be the man lifting this trophy. This is actually the last tournament that you can do on FIFA 16, so this series is probably over. I have had so much fun lifting this trophy with West Germany, with Argentina, with Poland, with Italy, and now with Brazil. That is some really big name teams. And while I never got to do it with my home team, England, hopefully I'll be watching that happen in real life this summer. Of course, I have no idea who's going to win this one, but some of the teams in the quarterfinals this year are legitimately exciting to use. So let's spin our wheel as always, and wherever it lands, we are going to play as them for the rest of this video. So, the wheel is spinning. We've got some big names on there, but it's slowing down near England. And we have got them. The Three Lions in 2026. What better way to finish this series off? We played as England in 1986, in 2006, and now we've got them in 2026, where we have some of the best players that England have ever had. Of course, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, Elliot Anderson and Declan Rice are really good players. We've got Saka on the wing. We've got Reece James playing right back, but we're only going to play him in a few matches because, of course, he can't cope with too many in a row. But with a tactic set and the team pretty solid and not that different to what Tuchel's using in real life, I think we're ready to start off the group stage. In our group, we have Croatia, Ghana and Panama, and we're going to play them in that order thanks to the mod we're using, actually fully licensing the World Cup. For the first game, we're going with Madueke and Gordon on the wings, dropping Saka down to the bench because he did come into the tournament with some minor injury problems. It does feel a little bit weird to be back in the modern times, and if you haven't watched the rest of this series, then I really do recommend you go check it out after you've watched this video. We've used some of the biggest legends of all time: Franz Beckenbauer, Diego Maradona, Steve Hodge in 1986, and now we've got the chance to make some legends and get a second star above that England badge. Croatia, a very good team, and also kind of a nemesis to England as well. They stopped them getting to Euro 2008, and also beat them in the semi-finals of the 2018 World Cup. But let's see what we can do with some of the best players that England has produced over the past couple of decades. Anderson, into Kane, a finesse shot, well saved by Livakovic. Now that's what we want. We want to get the ball into Harry Kane's feet, because he just needs one touch, and then one of his shots is eventually going to go in. We get it to him in a very similar position, and this time it does go in. A beautiful finish from Harry Kane, and we're ahead in the first 25 minutes. We know what to do. Just play the ball around the box until Harry Kane gets a tiny bit of space, let him turn, let him shoot from wherever, and eventually one of them is going to go in. Could Croatia respond immediately? No, our defence is actually surprisingly solid. Then Anderson and Rice have the passing ability to spring counterattacks. Has Kane got the pace to get away from Gvardiol? I think he might have got the shot away, but his big head, was offside. Still, more proof that we can play in a couple of different ways. We can keep it with the possession, or we can counter and try and use Kane's 60-something pace to break away from defences. With no hydration breaks to slow us down, there was only 1 minute added on in the first half, and we nearly went behind in extra time, but we did make it to half-time 1-0. I don't see any big reasons for us to switch it up at half-time. We can keep Saka on the bench, and Rashford, he might come on in a few minutes, but Madueke is making really nice runs. Again, we were inches offside, but still proof that we could do that counter-attack down the wing, or we could build up using some slower play. Rashford did get his opportunity, with about 30 minutes to go. If we could get a second goal, we'd feel a lot more comfortable, because we can feel the pressure building from Croatia. Bellingham just getting the pass wrong when Madueke was in. Anderson would get the ball into Rashford. First time he gets to run with it. Kane, Bellingham, we have Madueke making a nice run down the right, and he's definitely onside this time. If he can get round Gvardiol, which he does, we can pull it back, and Harry Kane is going to get his second. Croatia are by far the best team in our group, so getting a 2-0 win against them is really positive signs. They're one of the top 10 best teams in this tournament according to FC26, so we know by beating them comfortably, they didn't really have a single chance. We know we've put in a top performance. If we can win our next match, then we can go full rest mode for the third one. I think with this being our 7th tournament we've played in this series, we have some good ideas about what we need to do. If we can win this one, resting the players is super useful. If we don't win this one or draw it, then we're probably going to have something to play for in the final match against Panama, which we really don't want to do. So we go full strength. Gordon and Madueke on the wings. Bellingham hopefully going to do something in this match, because in the last match he was pretty poor, and I think we have it in us to get the win here. 6 points from 2 games would be great, and it actually would be better than what England would do in real life. Ghana would play a lot more defensively than Croatia would. They could obviously tell that they were outmatched in the talent department. That meant they were flooding the box with about 9 players, so it was important for our false 9 Harry Kane to get shots away wherever he could. But it just felt like they would block everything. From a throw, O'Reilly would pull one across, and Madueke's shot would also be blocked before he decides to run off the pitch. It was not a great first half an hour, but we were still level, and we were still absolutely dominating Ghana every time they tried to counter-attack. The win was definitely still on the cards. Bellingham would loft one towards Gordon. He had one man to beat, but couldn't do it. And that was basically story of the first half. We'd get so close to making chances, and we wouldn't be able to do it. The bad news was that Ghana were actually getting better at creating their own. Asante would miss from the edge of the box, and all of a sudden, it felt like we were lucky to go in level at half-time. Harry Kane with just 1 shot is very disappointing. The whole team only has 2, despite us dominating possession. So maybe we need to go a little bit more aggressive and get Reece James further forwards. He gets the cross in, and it's well defended by Ghana again. Maybe it's time for changes. What we have on the pitch clearly isn't working, and it's time for Saka to make his first appearance at this World Cup. Will he be the man to make the difference? I wish we had Semenyo on the bench. He was part of the build-up, and Asante would put Ghana 1-0 up. All of the hope we had for this being an easy romp to a 2 or 3-0 win had gone out of the window. Now we had 30 minutes to try and score a couple of goals. Kane's build-up play was being blocked by the swarm of Ghanaians in the box, and even when Rashford tried to be inventive, it was well caught by the goalkeeper Asari. Time was ticking away. We had 20 minutes to go. Kane's effort so close to finding the top corner. There was just a minute left. Ghana would have one more attack and an Englishman would score, but it was Anton Semenyo, the guy born in England who could have been at this tournament for England if he hadn't already changed allegiances, has scored and put us out of it. Bellingham had a go at trying to get the goal difference back in the last second, but we had lost 2-0. It was absolutely certain that we had to beat Panama in the last match. Technically, we were basically through. As long as we drew with Panama, we would come third, which is a guaranteed spot in the next round of this tournament. But we wanted the win, so we decided to switch things up. Jed Spence on the left as an overlapping attacking wingback, Kwanzaa replacing Reece James, who actually got injured after 2 matches in this tournament, and Saka starting finally for England, hopefully going to put a couple of goals past Panama. It's almost certain that finishing top of your group puts you in a better situation than finishing second, and finishing third can be even worse. We don't want to play a massive team like Colombia in the next round. If we win our group, it could be a match against South Africa, or someone like Cape Verde or Australia, but to get there, we're going to have to beat Panama, and the first half an hour is really not positive. We've not had a shot, and they keep breaking us down basically at will. Can we do something on the counter-attack though? Saka, he's got Kane and Bellingham ahead of him. He goes for Bellingham, who goes for Kane. We're going to do his first shot of the match. It was a nice shot, but easily saved by the Panama goalkeeper. If we can get a goal before half-time, we are going to be happy. We try and loft one out to Gordon, and he nearly gets the rebound, but Murillo is just way too strong. That's basically the story of the half. We get so close, but they get caught up. Until Gordon finally gets him behind, gets the shot away, and it's tipped just inches wide of the far post. Can we be like Arsenal? Set piece? No, it's cleared off the line from Bellingham's header. And this is turning into a real disaster. Panama are just so comfortable on the ball, playing it through a 4-man press like we weren't even there. 0-0, and it's all to play for in the second half. What we can't do is go behind. Rice into Bellingham playing as that second striker. Saka across to Kane, but Murillo is there again. He's stopping every attack down that left. Kane, he's got a couple of runners. He goes out to Saka. Can he beat his man? He can. Can he do something with the pass? Good turn from Kane. Gives it to Bellingham, and finally, after 62 minutes, Bellingham shows up at the tournament. What a nice goal that was as well. Choosing to pass when the shot was on from Harry Kane. With England having a 1-0 lead against Panama, you'd probably think the win was in the bag, but we wanted to make sure of it with a couple more goals. Murillo again stopping everything down that left. Maybe it's time to swap our wingers around. Will we do Madueke, Rogers, and actually let's bring on Ollie Watkins as well up front. There's only about 10 minutes left. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Rice gets the ball intercepted, and it's a good turn from Waterman, and we're level to Panama. That is really, really not good. Declan Rice losing the ball, meaning we now have 5 minutes left to try and get that goal we need. Can we press them? We have everyone flooding forwards. We're going to switch to a kick and rush style as well, just trying to get that goal. Rice intercepts it. Will he make up for that mistake? Madueke into Watkins. He's got no angle, but he pulls it across anyway, and Bellingham is there for a second tap-in of the game. We should not be celebrating a last-minute goal against Panama that hard, but absolutely we are. Murillo was so close to stopping it, but with the goal being confirmed, we are basically guaranteed second place in the group. It could even be first if the other match had a draw, and that's kind of what we're hoping for. Panama did hog the ball, they only had one shot, but sadly for us, it is second place, which means a harder game in the next round. That game is against Colombia, one of the teams we wanted to avoid, and it seems like Luis Suarez is the man to try and stop. At least this one doesn't bite. So we're going to go for a slightly different team again. Spence on the right, O'Reilly drifting in from the left. Still no Reece James because of course he was injured for this round in real life too, so I thought we'd put that into this video. Colombia have some very well-known players. James Rodriguez playing in probably his last World Cup. Quintero, Richard Rios, who's really good in the Portuguese league, as well as Luis Suarez, who scored about 40 goals last season, I think. So there is a lot of talent to watch out for. But it seems like they don't really want to use it. I mean, all they do is sort of circulate the ball between their back six. So when we win it, we have to make the most of it. They've got a lightning fast defence, but Saka would get away before being taken down just on the edge of the box or potentially in it. A penalty here would change everything. You can see the slide tackle slid into the box, but what has the referee given? Machado, really reckless there, diving in, but it is a free kick. We don't want Kane taking this one. We're going to let Rice have it. Good amount of power. A nice shot, but just over the bar. That was so close. Colombia would go back to trying to hog the ball, but we would intercept it with Kane. Would Saka get brought down again? No, he gets away from his man, into Jed Spence. A nice cross in, and Kane gets beaten to it by Davinson Sanchez. But that was it. That was the first half over, and Colombia had us about where they wanted us. We'd had one shot, we'd had 34% of the ball, and we just could not do anything. We had to be more lethal on the counter-attack. So we pushed Gordon further forwards, now playing as a full winger, but our end product still wasn't good enough. We were desperate to try and win the ball. We were sliding in when there was really no need. And we were also frustrated on defence. John Arias nearly made Colombia's game plan perfect, but it wasn't to be for them this time. We decided, why not play Rice at right back? He's got a slightly better cross on him, bring Eze on to replace him as a deep line playmaker, and see if we can build up slightly better with an extra midfielder. Kane did get away from his man in the 75th minute, but the shot was never going to beat Vargas. It looked like Colombia's game plan of playing for penalties was about to pay off. They'd done it for 90 minutes, now they just had to do it for another 30. They just weren't missing passes, and it was so hard to get the ball off them. When we did, we had to make the most of it. Kane with another chance, but it's another low-driven shot, and it's another easy save from Vargas. Kane into Rashford. It's Mark Gay. Why is he up there? A nice lofted cross, and Bellingham meets it. And Bellingham scores yet another clutch goal. He's always there just when we need him. That is the player that Bellingham is. He outjumps two Colombians and Harry Kane. Perfect header into the side netting. And now it's time to bring on Big Dan Burn. He's going as the right centre-back. We've got Konza and Gay back there. John Stones is now playing right back. And we are going to try and hold on to this with all that we have. We have the whole team pitching in here to get this win. Cordoba into Rios. We've got some big target men in the middle to stop the cross. So they go low. Cordoba, brilliant save from Pickford. And Gay's going to clear this. One last chance for Colombia. They recycle it backwards like they've done all game, and that's going to be enough for the referee. Thomas Tuchel has beaten Colombia. We're out of the round of 32 and we're into the round of 16 then. So that means possibly 4 more matches if we're going to go on to win this World Cup. But who are we going to be drawn against? It's going to be Uruguay, a team that England famously crashed out of the 2014 World Cup after losing to in the group stage. So again, another match with a little bit of rivalry. If you look through the squad that Uruguay have, Valverde would make the England squad, maybe Darwin Núñez as a backup to Harry Kane, but beyond that, there's not really too much that we should be worried about. But as with all South American teams, you know they're going to defend hard, they're going to be passionate, they're going to be aggressive, and on the counter-attack, they are a real threat. So getting an early goal to stop that happening so we can sit back is crucial. Ball's chipped forward, and Rashford gets us that early goal. For the first time in this entire tournament, possibly since the Croatia game, we have the early goal that can really make us get some confidence. A second would have been nice, and Bellingham was close to getting it, but it was straight at the goalkeeper. The whole first 30 minutes was just us, and Saka really put the cherry on the icing on the cake. 21 minutes in, a beautiful finesse, and we're 2-1 up. All we have to do now is see out the rest of this match, and we'll have done better than we did in 2006, where I think we got knocked out in the round of 16, and we will have done better than we did in 1986, where again, we really didn't get too far in our attempt with England. And positive signs all around still. Before halftime, we've had about 10 shots. Uruguay have done absolutely nothing. I really did think Kane had found the top corner with that one, but it was the last action of the half. We started the second half with more chances. Again, Kane arguably should have scored that. But 54 minutes in, and it was time for Uruguay to have their first attack. Darwin Núñez into Araujo, chipped over the goalkeeper, 2-1. And Uruguay are back in this. Would they go for it? All out attack trying to get the equaliser? Well no, they stayed patient passing it around the back. Araujo to Jimenez to Ugarte, out to De La Cruz, and we decided there's only one way to stop this. It's bringing on Dan Burn and John Stones. We saw what Dan Burn can do against Mexico in real life, and it was time for him to do it in the virtual world against Uruguay. And boy, did we need him. A beautiful standing tackle, and then still Uruguay would hit the post. He would win the header, and we would just about clear the ball, but Ugarte would recycle it. We couldn't quite defend. Salazar would find a nice bit of space, but Bellingham had got back to help us out. In the last minute, Burn would win the ball back again, Spence would clear it, and we had that 2-1 win. So close to replicating that Mexico game, almost word for word, but we're through into the quarterfinals where, actually, we've got further than France. That is brilliant news, seeing Germany knock them out in the round of 16. But also Spain have beaten Portugal, that's another big name out. But we've been drawn against Belgium, another team that England have a fair amount of history playing against. Back in 2018, when this English resurgence really started, England were in the same group as Belgium. Belgium beat them 1-0. And then in the third placed game at the end of the tournament, Belgium would beat them 2-0 again to get the bronze medal. So we had to get revenge. This is a very old Belgium squad. If you remember back to the 2014 video, we played as Belgium, and one of the biggest problems was how old the squad was then. And quite a bit of this squad is still playing today. Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku, that really was a dangerous chance. But we knew on the counter, we could just about outpace them. Anderson into Bellingham. He gets away from Mekele, but then he's brought down, and that has to be a red card. It absolutely is. That's the correct decision, and Belgium are down to 10. They take De Ketelaere off and bring on a defender. Can Reece James score the free kick? He steps up, a lot of power, a lot of curl, but Courtois manages to catch it. And just as the half is about to fizzle out, Luca Bacchio gives it to Tielemans. He runs into O'Reilly, and it's one of the harshest penalties I think I've ever seen in a World Cup. Lukaku steps up, stutters, and something happens. We either save it or he hits the post. Let's have a look at the replay. And he hits the post. Pickford was nowhere near it. Not sure what the lag was about, but we have survived to half-time at 0-0. I gotta say, this is feeling like it's going to be a 0-0 match. You know, it's so hard to score goals, and they're defending really well. But Bellingham's got through straight from kickoff, and he's made me eat my words. That is 1-0. Just 2 minutes into the second half. A beautiful bit of skill to get away from Tieta. And then that finish is unreal. And is it going to be a bit of a goal fest second half? Well, if Belgium can reply straight away, they can. 51 minutes in, 6 minutes in the first half, already 2 goals. Interesting. Gordon into O'Reilly. Can we pull this across? We can. And Harry Kane makes it 2-1 5 minutes later. We're not going to risk it. We're going to defend. Jed Spence on the left, John Stones on the right. That should give us a bit more pace and a bit more aerial ability at the back. In fact, maybe we can counter from this corner. Gordon with a great touch to get away from Tiata. He's got space to run into because they're covering no one in the middle. And we're going to hit it. Can we get the rebound? We can. 2-1 becomes 3-1. 69 minutes in, Anthony Gordon has surely given England the win. It's time to think about who we want in the semi-final. Do we want Spain or Germany or the Netherlands? With the performances we're putting in, I don't see how anyone could really score against us until Lukaku decides to smash one top left. All of a sudden, it's game back on. We've got 5 minutes to hold on. De Bruyne into Tielemans, Lukaku, Doku, Trossard. Look at this one-touch passing, and Rice can help us counter. Come on, Bellingham. We were so close to feeding it to Kane, and that surely would have been the end of the match. But Belgium are going to come again straight away. De Bruyne into Lukaku, Trossard into Fernandez Pardo. Lukaku beats Guehi. That's a great save from Pickford, and that's probably going to be the last attack for Belgium of the match. Well, John Stones misses it. Lukaku cuts inside, and there is the equaliser. So unbelievable, and so England to have collapsed from 2 goals up to getting equalised to 10 men just because of 2 absolute top bin bangers from Lukaku. But they've still got 10 men. Their players are going to be more tired than us, so maybe we can just get the win in extra time. Here's Harry Kane. He's not done too much in this match, but a nice 1-2 with Bellingham. Surely this is a goal. It's rebounded and Bellingham scores it. Courtois is saving absolutely everything, but we're getting quite lucky with the rebounds. And I think Jude Bellingham has scored yet another clutch goal to probably win us the tie. I can't believe I'm saying it when it was 0-0 at half-time, but we need a 5th goal to try and see off the threat of Belgium. You never know when they're going to play a perfect through ball, or Lukaku's going to turn, find space, and then hit one top corner yet again. 4-4, and that's the first half of extra time done. We've got 5 minutes to go, or we're going to penalties, and we all know what England are like on penalties. Rice into Saka, and it's 3-on-1 at the back. Saka, can he get the ball right? This time, Courtois gets nowhere near it. 5-4, Harry Kane scores again. That's his second, I think, out of the 5 goals. It's hard to keep track. Lukaku's definitely got a hat-trick, and let's make sure he doesn't get 4. Anderson with an aggressive tackle, 1 corner to defend, and John Stones is there. We brought him on to shore it up at 2-1, and he gets the last touch in a 5-4 win against Belgium. Now it is officially time to think about the semi-final. And looking at the teams left in it, it isn't actually the toughest proposition. There's Croatia, Spain, but England are going to be playing against the Netherlands. We had a look at their team sheet, and they've been playing 6 players at the back who are all able to play centre-back. That is if you're including Gravenberch and Frenkie de Jong. So we're going to have to line up for this one in a different way. We decide to basically play 3 at the back, with Spence overlapping Gordon and Kwanzaa tucking in to be a 3rd centre-back. Hopefully it works, because they do play 3 up front, but their team is solid. Timber, Van Dijk, Van de Ven and Hato all centre-backs, Gravenberch and de Jong both starting as well. Then they have Koopmeiners behind 3 absolutely rapid attackers. We don't have to go back very far to find a semi-final where England played against the Netherlands. It was the 2024 Euros, where England would win 2-1 thanks to a really late Ollie Watkins goal. But we were going for goals straight away, and it seemed like the Netherlands were also a lot more attacking than we thought. It felt like a cup game in one of the English Cup competitions. It was so end-to-end, it almost looked like basketball. We had players like Kwanzaa, who, let's remember, is a 3rd centre-back, overlapping Saka in the 15th minute. In the 23rd minute, the Netherlands invoked the spirit of Cruyff. About 6 one-touch passes, and then a beauty of a finish from Marlon put us behind. This is exactly the same as what happened in that Euros semi-final. England went behind early on and did that last-minute comeback to go through to the final. It felt like we were going to need to do something similar, because we had absolutely no chances up until the 40th minute. Spence crossing it in, and Kane finally got our first shot on target just before half-time. Half-time did actually come at a pretty good time, because the Netherlands once again had all of the momentum. It was undeniable that we had to at least think about changing things up at half-time. Could we move to the 5 at the back already? Well, we are behind, so we do need a little bit more threat up front. Was it time to give someone like Kobe Mainu or Jordan Henderson some minutes in midfield? Well, again, I think they're not physical enough, and we'd end up struggling to actually progress the ball. So we just stayed as it was, and we just hoped that Harry Kane would eventually get the ball in the right place and be able to just finish one for us. Could Saka do another curler from the edge of the box? He couldn't, and every single chance we had just meant more time dripping off the clock. 65 minutes became 78. Bellingham, Rice, into Saka, that's a great ball, and Bellingham continues his run, but before we can hit it, he is offside. It's all going wrong. Anderson, into Bellingham, beautifully timed run from Kane, but he's offside again. The Netherlands commit quite a lot of players from the corner, and Reece James wins it. It's a good ball from O'Reilly, but we do have someone up there. It's Rashford. It's Saka. Has he got the pace to get away from Timber? He's in behind. He has Rashford. We can pull this across just. Can he get the shot right? The substitute, Marcus Rashford, comes on to save us with 29 seconds left on the clock. The link-up between him and Saka, and relying on a counter-attack from a corner, it has sent the fans into delirium, and it was literally the last kick of the game. It wasn't a winner like Ollie Watkins, but sometimes history really does ripple across the years. Extra time was ticking away, both teams having their chances. Could we have another late winner? Bellingham got in behind, but he was miles offside yet again. And that was it. One last chance, the 121st minute, and the referee would blow before we could use it. penalties against the Netherlands. Two of the biggest underachieving teams in world football, and one of them is getting to the World Cup. We're going to switch things up. We want Kane taking an important one. We're not too sure about Elliot Anderson's Forest penalty record, so he's going to drop out. We're going to have Rashford, Saka, James, Kane and Bellingham potentially winning it. Okay, I am a little bit sorry about the lag here, but it was a post hit from Noah Lang. After this penalty, it goes back to being normal. Rashford finds the top corner and England are 1-0 up already. Weghorst is next, the big target man striker, and he goes right. We considered it, but we went down the middle. Saka next. Can he do his cool run up? He does, and it's saved by Verbruggen, back to being 1-1. Their top scorer now in this World Cup, Gakpo. Where's he going to go? We're going to dive to the left. He goes down the middle. We timed it wrong. We could have stopped it if we'd have swapped those around. Reece James next. Goes top left. Beauty of a penalty. Next is Virgil van Dijk. Sending up a centre-back, no matter how good they are, is always a risk. And it has not paid off. Pickford with a beautiful save. If Kane scores, it means we can win on the next set of penalties. Either Pickford saves or Bellingham scores, and we are in a World Cup final. The fans look excited for some reason. We dive over the ball. It was the right way, but not quite the right size. And that means Jude Bellingham, who has been so important for us in this tournament, can win the shootout. He gets the timing spot on. He goes down the middle. Absolutely no nerves on him. He knew that he was going to score that penalty and be the man to get us in the World Cup final. Who else would score a penalty like that? So who was it going to be in the final? It was either Croatia or it was Spain. As you would probably expect, it was England against Spain in the final. It was always going to be England against Spain or France because it was those three teams that were heavily favourites from the beginning. For the last time, it was time to set up our team. We go with Jed to try and negate the threat of Lamine Yamal. Reece James starting as well to try and stop Nico Williams. We go Saka on the right. He always causes Cucurella problems. And we've gone Rashford against Porro on the left. I think the matchups are probably in our favours, other than Spence against Yamal, but he's got it in him to try and stop him. And if he doesn't stop him, we'll be making another video where we spin the wheel and try and win the World Cup as someone else in 2026. They have such a good team. There is a little bit of pressure on us. It's only the second time Spain have ever reached the final, exactly the same as England. Last time they were here, they won. Last time England were in the final, they also won. Rodri, bursting from midfield, some trademark Rodri step-overs, somehow skill past us, Olmo, and that was Ferran Torres, I think, who really should have scored that one-on-one. Yamal's corner comes in, Laporte, Ferran Torres again, and within 5 minutes, they've already threatened our goal a couple of times. It's pretty obvious early on that Spain have the technical capabilities and we have the physical dominance. Every time they get the ball, we have to be super aggressive, and we've already got a couple of players on yellow cards in the first half, which is really not very good news. We're already doing last-ditch defending, and sometimes it just isn't enough. Dani Olmo slotting one past Pickford, and we're 1-0 down in the World Cup final. It always seems like it's Dani Olmo who scores against England. Now we've gone behind, we have to commit more men forwards, and we're trying absolutely everything we can to make chances. Rashford just can't get in behind because they've picked a much faster fullback in Llorente. Cucurella is playing like he's Maldini, Cafu and Roberto Carlos mixed, and at half-time, we're 1-0 down. Our pre-match tactics haven't really worked. We've stopped their wingers doing much, but they have stopped ours doing absolutely everything. We even try and push Jed Spencer, but Rodri is just so calm and he's always in the right position, so it's impossible to create absolutely anything. We're still holding on in the 60th minute, doing last-ditch slide tackles in the box, so lucky not to give away a penalty. But all of a sudden, we counter-attack. Saka gets the best of Cucurella into the box and calmly toe pokes it past the on-rushing goalkeeper. A lifeline out of absolutely nowhere. I don't think we deserve to score it, but who knows, maybe we can go on to get a second. Bellingham into Saka. Can he beat Cucurella again? He can, but the pass just intercepted. That goal changed everything, and now it's all England. Spence so close to getting it into Kane's feet. Spain don't know what to do. They try and keep the ball, but our press is just so strong. They can't do anything. Bellingham into Rashford. The last minute of the game, we go for a long shot, and that was a lot closer than it looked. It looks like it's going to extra time, and the referee confirms it. We switch Jed Spencer for Nico O'Reilly, hoping we can get him into midfield and overload the three that Spain are playing. And it seems again like it's working. Kane into Madueke. He has the pace to get away from Cucurella, surely, but he doesn't quite have the determination to stay on the ball. Rice is playing hopeful balls into Gordon, and we just need one thing to fall our way, and we've won a World Cup. We've dropped Anderson off the pitch, put Bellingham in defensive mid, brought Tony on, and playing Kane as the attacking midfielder. It is really risky, but we know this is probably going to go to penalties, and we just need as many penalty takers on the pitch as we can. The referee admits yes. This is a 1-1 game, and now it all comes down to spot kicks. A World Cup final, where we've already won on penalties in the last round. This is a high pressure situation. You can see Ivan Toney's 93 penalties. That is why he's on the pitch. We'll let him take the fourth one, and Harry Kane can take the third one, hoping we don't need Declan Rice in 5th place, and we've already won it by then. Gordon scores first. A beauty of a top corner penalty. Yamal is going to take the first one for Spain. He delays it as long as he can, but then misses the target altogether. Jude Bellingham is the next penalty taker. Steps up, another beauty into the top corner. It's going to be Ferran Torres taking the second Spanish one. Save this, and we have an almost unassailable lead. Ferran Torres scores, as does Tony and Kane. That means all of the pressure is coming down to this 5th and final penalty. If Declan Rice scores, England are world champions. If he misses, we can save it and still be world champions. Declan Rice steps up, and oh my god, we have finally done it. We have won England a World Cup in this series. It has been a long time coming. That is 3 times we've played as England. We didn't make it past the quarterfinals before, but this is the England team that has done it. If you haven't watched the rest of this series, then I really recommend you go check them out, especially some of the earlier ones, where there's some teams and players that you might not have heard of, that I hadn't heard of, that I've seen people talking about in the context of old World Cups in 2026, but I hadn't heard of them. So go check those out if you're interested in learning a bit about some of these older teams. I've got to say, this has been my favourite series I think I've ever made on the channel. So thank you so much if you've watched one of these videos, if you've watched the whole series, if this is the first video of mine you've ever watched, or if this is one of the millionth videos that you've watched. I really do appreciate it, because without you, I would have just been playing these games by myself with no one to share them to. But thank you for letting me share my World Cup series with you. Hopefully you're enjoying the real life thing, and honestly, if you're English, I'm sure you'll be hoping you'll see this in a couple of weeks' time. I'm uploading this just before England play Norway, so I have no idea what the result's going to be in that match. Why don't you leave your prediction in the comments below, and if you're watching this after the match, you can go through and let people know how wrong they are, or try and like the ones that actually got the result spot on. But thank you so much for watching. England are FIFA World Cup 2026 champions. I'll see you soon. Cheers and goodbye.